Chapter 244 Establishing the Guild. Chapter 244 Establishing the Guild. At this moment, there was a crowd of players surrounding the quest board in the lobby of the Adventurers Association. Although the XP awarded by these quests were negligible, the guild reputation they gave was very high. Moreover, each player was limited to only 3 guild quests a day. A guild could be promoted after it accumulated a set amount of reputation, and the members of the guild would receive much better guild benefits such as bonus EXP when doing quests. "Excuse me, sir, what can I do for you today?" The blue-haired lady standing behind the reception counter asked Surfong, a smile on her face. "I wish to establish a guild," Surfong said. "Understood. Please fill up this application form." The receptionist passed Surfong a guild application form. It was very easy for players to establish a guild in God's domain. Players only needed to decide on a name for their guild and designate a guild emblem. They were then required to purchase a guild certificate for 10 copper coins and have at least 7 independent players place their signatures on it. When all these things were completed, the guild would then be officially established. Newly founded guilds would all start out as 1-star guilds, and the only benefit available for the members of a 1-star guild were the availability of the guild quests. "Guild name, is it?" Surfong hesitated as he looked at the blank space meant for the guild's name, wondering what he should write in exactly. After giving it some thought, he decided to stick with using the Zero Wing Workshop's name. In any case, along with the guild's development and growing fame, his identity would sooner or later be leaked. "Let's name it Zero Wing then." Surfong then designed the guild emblem in the form of 6 silver wings. After purchasing the guild certificate, Surfong sent Fire Dance and the others a guild signature invitation. Meanwhile, at the Black Wind Canyon, a level 20 to level 25 map, Fire Dance and the others were currently grinding on level 22 demonic bats. They had come to this place under the suggestion of Surfong. The reason Surfong had recommended it was because the demonic bats here belonged to the type of monsters that had high attack but low HP. Most importantly, the monsters here were concentrated in number. Normally, the demonic bats would appear in groups of 7 or 8, and any solo independent player would easily find themselves losing their lives here. However, to a party that had amazing AoE damage, this place was a holy land for leveling up. In the case of Fire Dance's party, Fire Dance herself was responsible for luring the monsters, as she had the highest movement speed out of everyone in the party. She would lure over 100 monsters every time, and afterward, the Guardian Knight, Kola, would activate Protection Blessing and cast Devotion, a group aggro skill, to gather the monsters into one location. Meanwhile, Violet Cloud would be responsible for healing Kola, while Blackie would get rid of all the monsters in a single blow. Throughout this process, everyone's cooperation and grasp of timing was perfect. If other players were to witness this scene, they would definitely be shocked into a daze. Presently, the average level of players was only at level 12 or so, while professional players would be around level 13. Even the number 1 player on White River City's ranking list, Lone Tyrant, was only at level 15 right now. Yet, Fire Dance and the others had long since passed level 15. Even the lowest level player in the party, the Oracle, Gluttonous Mouse, was level 18. Meanwhile, Blackie, who was the highest level player in the party, was currently at 45% of level 19. Although there was only a gap of 1 level between the 2 players, the difference in EXP could allow a player to directly rise from level 0 all the way up to level 15. Huh! What is this message? While taking a break, Fire Dance and the others simultaneously received a guild signature invitation. As long as they agreed to the invitation, they would immediately become official members of the guild after the guild was established. Originally, Fire Dance and the others had intended to immediately reject the invitation. However, their hands unanimously paused when they saw the name of the guild. Zero Wing? Isn't that the name of our workshop? Blackie asked, curious. This is an invitation sent by Big Brother Yifeng. Big Brother Yifeng is finally going to establish the guild. Violet Cloud said excitedly when she noticed that one of the names inscribed on the guild certificate was Yifeng. She then said with joy, "Great! We will have our own guild in the future. Isn't it still too early to establish the guild? We only have so few members right now. Brother Feng had also said before that we are lacking in members, and that we need to wait for some time before establishing the guild. Did something happen? Don't bother about this for now. We should put our signatures first. Fire Dance was similarly surprised by Shifeng's sudden decision. However, since Shifeng had decided to do so, he must have had his own considerations. Moreover, it wouldn't be a bad idea to establish the guild ahead of time. Immediately, everyone in the party clicked agree. They then received a system notification. System, congratulations on becoming a member of Zero Wing. System, this is your first time joining a guild. Activating guild system. On the other side, Shifeng had already left the Adventurers Association, returning to the Star Street trading firm. At this moment, the Star Street trading firm was packed with players. The trading firm was currently the most lively location in White River City, second to none. Hey bro, I see that you're here to buy those basic mana armor kits, right? With so many people lining up here, you would need to wait at least a week before you can even get one for yourself. However, I have here a way to help you save your time, letting you jump the queue to buy the mana armor kits in advance. A thinly built swordsman walked around the entrance of the Star Street trading firm, chatting up the players lined up outside the building. Really? A player clearly grew interested. Of course. A basic mana armor kit costs 20 silver coins, while you only need to pay 2 silver coins to skip the long wait to buy it. The thin swordsman said with a smile. Alright, bring me there. It's just an extra 2 silver coins. Our party won't miss this little amount of money. Following which, the thin swordsman led the player up to the second floor, skipping the long queue on the first floor. Really, any sort of business goes, huh? Shifeng couldn't help but exclaim after seeing this sight. The basic mana armor kits were in high demand. However, the Star Street trading firm only sold 50 pieces of the item each day, so only a very small number of players could obtain them. However, this couldn't be helped. Shifeng couldn't just focus all his attention on producing the basic mana armor kits. He still had many things he needed to do. The basic mana armor kit was simply an item for him to accumulate reputation. It was not meant to be a true money maker for him. Afterward, Shifeng arrived at the 4th floor of the trading firm and entered a forging room. He then started forging the Arclight shield. During this crucial period, many guilds were thinking of how they could obtain the first clear of a 50-man team dungeon. Naturally, the equipment of their MTs became the top priority in their considerations, especially the shields their MTs used. Meanwhile, an excellent shield like the fine gold ranked Arclight shield would, without a doubt, attract the attention of these guilds. As long as Shifeng placed the Arclight shields up for sale, many guilds would definitely pay a huge sum in order to obtain it. Hence, the sooner he produced the Arclight shields, the higher the price he could sell them for. However, the success rate for forging a fine gold ranked item was extremely low. A normal advanced forging apprentice only had a 2% success rate, meaning that, out of 100 tries, they would only successfully produce 2 Arclight shields. In reality, however, they might not even be able to produce 1 out of 100 tries. However, Shifeng had both the Book of Forging and Blacksteel's insignia. He also had the Ice Blue Devil Flame and various other tools that increased his forging success rate. Even so, his final success rate at forging a fine gold ranked item only sat at around 20%. In addition, Shifeng was not familiar with the forging process of the Arclight shield, so his success rate should be much lower than 20%. If he was promoted to a basic forger, his base success rate would increase to 5%. However, that still wouldn't make much of a difference. Only by becoming an advanced forger would there be a significant improvement. With the 10% base success rate of an advanced forger, in addition to the various supporting tools Shifeng had, his success rate for forging a fine gold ranked item could reach up to 30%. However, Shifeng needed to invest a lot of time in order to become an advanced forger, and time was something he sorely lacked right now. He had no choice but to give it a try now. In any case, he had plenty of materials to experiment with. He could simply try again if he failed. Chapter 245 Target, Dark Gold. Chapter 245 Target, Dark Gold. Before Surfeng started forging the Arclight shield, he decided to first forge a few basic mana armor kits to serve as a warm-up. After God's domain evolved, the process of forging grew more complicated, greatly increasing the difficulty of producing an item. Unlike the advanced whetstones and basic mana armor kits, which were still considerably simple to make, items such as weapons and equipment had a much more complex forging procedure. It should be about time I give the shield a try. After Surfeng produced tens of basic mana armor kits, he finally retrieved the silver ore and gold ore needed to forge the Arclight shield. He had also received the magic crystals from Gentle Snow in advance. Gentle Snow had wanted to obtain the Arclight shields as soon as possible, so Surfeng required her to send him the magic crystals in advance. Surfeng had received a total of 200 magic crystals from Gentle Snow. Such an amount was sufficient for 20 attempts to produce the Arclight shield. Surfeng only had a 20% success rate for forging the Arclight shield. It was the lowest success rate he had ever had since he started forging equipment. However, if any other forger were in his shoes right now, they might not be able to produce even one Arclight shield out of several hundred sets of materials. Those conceited guilds thought that they could easily produce the Arclight shield after obtaining its forging design. However, if Surfeng had not won the bid for the forging design, by the time those guilds managed to produce a single Arclight shield, the 50-man team dungeons would have long since been conquered. In order to gain experience, when Surfeng started his first attempt at forging the Arclight shield, he went through the process slowly and steadily, carrying out each step to the best of his abilities. Before he knew it, Surfeng had spent over 20 minutes producing the first Arclight shield. Compared to a normal shield, the Arclight shield had a crescent-shaped design. The entire shield was colored in silver, and many runic patterns were carved on the shield's body. Although the shield looked mighty and powerful at first glance, it was still unknown whether it was a failed or successful product. Surfeng then chose to generate the shield's data. After 10 seconds of waiting, the identification process for the shield was completed. As expected, it's a failure. Surfeng sighed when he took a look at the shield's data. Although it was indeed an Arclight shield, its quality was a rank lower than the original. It was only Secret Silver rank. Arclight shield, Secret Silver rank. Level 15. Equipment requirement, Strength 90. Defense plus 330. Block rate 31%. Strength plus 10, Endurance plus 20. Evasion plus 3. Additional passive skill 1 dash. Sound of Life. Every attack received will grant user with a stack of Power of Life, increasing maximum HP by 2% and received healing by 1% for 1 minute. Maximum of 10 stacks. Additional passive skill 2 dash. Refraction. Triggers once every 50 seconds. Becomes immune to one attack. From a general point of view, though, it is not a bad result, all the same. At the very least, it is still a Secret Silver ranked shield. I should be able to sell it for a good price even then. Surfeng was relatively satisfied with this failed product. After all, a Secret Silver ranked shield remained a rare item at this stage of the game. According to Surfeng's knowledge, a majority of the core MTs of second-rate and third-rate guilds were still using mysterious iron-ranked shields. If he sold this failure, he could still earn around 6 to 7 gold coins from it. Although he had failed this time, it was not a complete failure. At the very least, it did not turn out as a scrap item. This partial failure indicated that he must have made a mistake somewhere during the forging process. There shouldn't be any problems with the forging of the main body itself. I must have messed up when I was carving the runes on the shield, preventing it from reaching fine gold rank, Surfeng concluded after carefully reviewing his actions. According to past experiences, if a problem had truly occurred during the formation of the shield, then the Arclight shield wouldn't just fall by a single rank. It wouldn't even be unusual for the shield to end up being bronze rank or lower. Afterward, Surfeng did not rush to start his second attempt. Instead, he carefully studied the runes he had carved on the Arclight shield. The inscription of the runes were mainly done using the magic crystals. However, the process of completing these runes was not easy, as Shifeng did not truly understand their meaning. He could only make blind imitations of the drawings. Although he did not understand the meaning behind the runes, if he practiced drawing them over and over, it should still yield some positive effect. Hence, Shifeng started practicing drawing the runes. Once, twice, 10 times. Every drawing took around 4 to 5 minutes to complete. However, as the number of times he practiced increased, he grew more proficient at drawing the runes. The runes he drew now also started resembling the original. This cost-free way of practicing was much more economical than learning through actual production. Shifeng naturally wouldn't mind more practice. This should be enough. Shifeng looked at the latest rune he drew, feeling extremely satisfied with it. This imitation of his looked practically the same as the rune shown on the forging design. Hence, Shifeng started his second attempt at producing the Arclight shield. This time, the entire forging process of the shield flowed very smoothly. Shifeng had only spent around 10 minutes to complete the second Arclight shield. However, his attempt this time ended in complete failure. Shifeng's 20% success rate did not stand on his side this time around. Following which, Shifeng consecutively produced 10 Arclight shields. Moreover, with each successive shield he made, the time he spent producing them also decreased. His hands also moved with much more proficiency. Out of the 10 Arclight shields he made, only 2 barely achieved the passing standard, 2 ended up as defective products, while the remaining ones were complete failures. As for the 2 defective shields, one was mysterious iron rank, while the other was secret silver rank. In general, the results were quite good. However, Shifeng was still unsatisfied with the quality of the Arclight shields. Now that I am proficient at making the Arclight shields, the next step would be increasing its quality. If I can let Kola use a dark gold ranked Arclight shield, our chances at clearing the demon's castle would become much higher. Shifeng decided to take out the runic gold, the reward he obtained for his promotion to advanced forging apprentice. Not only could the runic gold increase his success rate by 10%, there was also a small chance for it to increase an item's rank by 1, up to a maximum of dark gold rank. Unfortunately, Shifeng only had 5 of these things, meaning that he only had 5 chances to produce a dark gold ranked Arclight shield. The runic gold was a piece of ore that gave off a metallic glow, and contained runic energy within it. After refining the runic gold, Shifeng poured the molten runic gold into the silver gold alloy. Immediately, a change occurred in the alloy. The originally bright red alloy turned dark red in color. Moreover, it also started greedily absorbing the energy of the ice blue devil flame. As the amount of energy it absorbed increased, the alloy started emitting many golden runes, slowly forming an array of runes. Knowing that the fusion was completed, Shifeng immediately retrieved the scorching hot alloy from the furnace, placed it on the anvil, and started hammering on it. Slowly, the piece of alloy started taking on the shape of an Arclight shield, and on the shield's surface, there was even a layer of naturally occurring golden runes. The shield looked incredibly holy. After hammering for several minutes, Shifeng finally formed the Arclight shield. Immediately, he retrieved a black liquid and started drawing the runes on the shield. The black liquid was the liquefied product of the magic crystals. Shifeng concentrated his full attention on each and every stroke, afraid of making even the slightest mistake. When he completed the final stroke, the naturally occurring golden runes on the shield actually melded together with the runes Shifeng had drawn. Together, they formed completely new golden runes possessing no resemblance to the black runes found on the previous Arclight shield Shifeng made. Please be a success! Shifeng timidly selected to identify the shield. Although the Arclight shield looked absolutely perfect appearance-wise, whether it was a success or a failure still depended on the final data. 1 second. 2 seconds. This time, even after 20 seconds had passed, the system was still unable to determine the shield's exact data. This situation caused Shifeng to grow slightly nervous. The longer identification time indicated that even the system itself was hesitant. In the end, is it a success or a failure? Shifeng had carried out the entire forging procedure perfectly. At the end of the day, however, his success rate was only 30%. Oftentimes, when the identification process took longer than usual, there was a higher chance that the result was a failure. Finally, after 30 seconds passed, the system returned the identification results. System: Arclight Guard has been successfully forged. Forging proficiency increased by 2 points. Obtained 80,000 EXP. Chapter 246 Neither weak nor strong. Chapter 246 Either weak nor strong. Success on the first attempt? It seems my luck really is good. Shifeng revealed a faint smile when he heard the system notification sound. Along with the Arclight Shield's promotion to Dark Gold rank, a change occurred to its name as well. Shifeng then started inspecting the silver-colored, crescent-shaped shield that was placed on the ironweave felt. He was extremely curious to find out just what sort of attributes the Arclight Guard possessed. Arclight Guard, Shield, Dark Gold rank. Level 15. Equipment requirement, Strength 110. Defense plus 550. Block rate 39%. Strength plus 21, Endurance plus 30. Evasion plus 10. Additional passive skill 1 dash. Sound of Life. Every attack received will grant user with a stack of Power of Life, increasing maximum HP by 3% and received healing by 2% for 1 minute. Maximum of 10 stacks. Additional passive skill 2 dash. Refraction. Triggers once every 25 seconds. Becomes immune to 1 attack. Additional skill dash. Time Arc, when activated, allows the user to save current state and return to save state 9 seconds later. Cooldown, 10 minutes. Isn't this Time Arc skill overpowered? No wonder there wasn't much of an improvement on the other attributes. Just this skill alone made the Arclight Guard deserving of being a Dark Gold ranked shield. Shifeng exclaimed. Saving current state, which was to say, after 9 seconds, even if the user of the Arclight Guard died, they would still recover to their saved state. The cooldown of skills used after Time Arc was invoked would recover as well. Compared to a skill that provided invincibility, Time Arc was a much more amazing skill. The only downside to this skill was its long cooldown. However, when taking into consideration the heaven-defying effect of this skill, a 10-minute cooldown was considerably short. If the cooldown of this skill was any shorter, then the Arclight Guard would no longer be just a Dark Gold ranked shield, but an Epic ranked shield instead. Although Shifeng had already made 1 Arclight Guard, he was still not satisfied. He wished to make even more Arclight Guards. Deciding so, he used up the remaining 4 pieces of runic gold when forging the Arclight shields. However, the results were horrible. Out of his 4 attempts, 2 were complete failures. They did not even achieve bronze rank. As for the remaining 2 Arclight shields, 1 achieved secret silver rank, while the other achieved fine gold rank. However, such a success rate was already very good. He had used a total of 5 runic gold to forge the Arclight shields. Among them, 1 had achieved dark gold rank, 1 had achieved fine gold rank, and 1 had achieved secret silver rank. Out of the 3 shields, Shifeng would naturally save the dark gold ranked Arclight Guard for Cola's use. With the Arclight Guard, they would have no problems raiding the level 15, 20-man team dungeon, the Demon's Castle. Just as Shifeng thought of carrying on with forging Arclight shields, someone knocked on the door of the forging room. Come in. When the door to the forging room opened, a golden-haired beauty walked in. This person was none other than Shifeng's assistant, Anna. Your Excellency, an adventurer named Aqua Rose wishes to meet you. She says she has an appointment with you, and she is currently waiting in the meeting room on the 3rd floor. Anna said respectfully. All right, I'll be there in a minute. Shifeng nodded his head. Shifeng had similarly guessed that Aqua Rose should arrive right about now. After all, teleportation occurred instantaneously. Aqua Rose only needed to gather her subordinates, explain to them the situation, and make some future plans. Inside the meeting room on the 3rd floor, Aqua Rose and her 100+ subordinates were seated around the room, having a small discussion about matters relating to Shifeng. These players all had relatively high levels. The lowest out of all of them was level 13, while the others were level 14. Even if placed inside a first-rate guild, all these players would be considered elite members. These players were all Aqua Rose's most trusted aides. Before they had arrived here, they hadn't dared to imagine that there would actually be someone willing to spend 300 gold coins to bring them to this place. If the organization this person belonged to wasn't extremely rich, then this person was just insane. However, after they discovered that Shifeng actually had a connection with such a large trading firm, their thoughts immediately changed. Not only did Shifeng manage to achieve something that no other guild had achieved, his fame in the entire Star Moon Kingdom could already be described as the sun in midday. It was especially true for the recently popular basic mana armor kit. This was an item that plenty of guilds could only dream of having. If they could be a part of the power Shifeng belonged to, then couldn't every one of them obtain their very own basic mana armor kit? This was definitely a treatment that no other first-rate guild could provide. Big Sis Aqua, just who is that Black Flame? Is he in the upper management of a super guild? A female swordsman curiously asked. Aqua Rose shook her head, a bitter smile on her face as she replied, I don't know either. He has always been very mysterious. However, I believe that we will be able to find out his true identity today. In truth, Aqua Rose was also interested in finding out the truth. However, now that they were going to join the power Black Flame belonged to, Black Flame would have no need to hide the truth from them. They could finally take a look at the giant hidden behind Shifeng. Sorry to keep all of you waiting. The moment Shifeng walked into the meeting room, everyone inside immediately fell silent. Everyone present stood up as they looked at Shifeng, deep veneration in their eyes. They were like interviewees standing up to welcome their interviewer. Some were nervous, while some were excited. After leaving Twilight Echo, they were like homeless little birds. Although they wished to soar higher into the sky, they did not possess a home they could return to. Feelings of helplessness and disappointment constantly filled their minds as they wondered what sort of future awaited them. However, the situation was different now. They would be joining an even greater family now. At this moment, these ex-members of Twilight Echo rejoiced over the fact that they had chosen to leave Twilight Echo together with Aqua Rose, praising themselves for making a wise decision. After all, a bright future had already opened its doors to them. I am the one who should be sorry for making Master Black Flame wait for us for so long. Aqua Rose apologized. Since we will be companions in the future, stop referring me as Master this or Master that. Just call me Black Flame. Shifeng could sense the cautiousness behind Aqua Rose and everyone else's actions. However, this was to be expected. I have only asked you all to come here so that I can invite everyone into the guild first. Later on, Miss Aqua can freely decide how you all wish to develop yourselves. I won't set any restrictions for you. Right, here is a copy of the White River City Guidebook. After you are done reading it, you should be able to familiarize yourself with White River City, Miss Aqua. Saying so, Shifeng sent a copy of the luxury version White River City Guidebook to Aqua Rose. Simultaneously, he had sent everyone present a guild invitation. Zero Wing? What is this guild? Why is it only a one-star guild? Wasn't it supposed to be some sort of hidden power? Everyone entered a daze for a long time after they received Shifeng's guild invitation. Ignoring the fact that they had never even heard of such a guild, just having status of a one-star guild showed how weak Zero Wing was. The reason being, even third-rate guilds at this stage of the game were three-star guilds, not to mention first-rate guilds. After taking a look at the member count of the guild, everyone was further dumbfounded. Before they had joined, this guild only had 9 members? What kind of guild was this? Zero Wing was the weakest guild they had seen so far, second to none. Even Aqua Rose herself was shocked by this revelation. The current situation was completely different from what she had imagined it to be. She had thought Shifeng would be bringing her to meet the many great characters of this guild, allowing her to get a grasp on the frightening background of the guild. Yet the truth that Shifeng revealed had far exceeded her expectations. The reason being, the influence of this guild could literally be determined in a single glance. You all must be very disappointed to find out that my guild is actually so weak, right? Sherfone looked at everyone's crestfallen expressions. Suddenly, he said in a cold voice, "Let me give it to you straight. This is Zero Wing. It is neither weak nor strong. It is merely a home that you can stay in. As for how others are going to view us, it will depend on your own performances." Chapter 247 Seizing the Ranking List. Chapter 247 Seizing the Ranking List. Although they felt that what Sherfone said was logical, their disappointment still did not decrease by the slightest. Out of everyone present, only Aqua Rose's fighting spirit truly ignited. She was the only one who truly understood the meaning of Sherfeng's words. Strength that depended on oneself rather than others. The best example for this was Sherfone, who stood right before them. His guild was clearly very weak. Yet, he managed to achieve many things that not even many first-rate guilds and even super guilds could. As a result, he made everyone believe that there was a mysterious power secretly supporting him from behind. However, what was the reality of the matter? By depending on only himself, Sherfone had created a miracle. He had even overwhelmed everyone back at the Blackwing auction, causing a sensation. Since Sherfone was capable of such feats, why couldn't she do so as well? At this moment, Aqua Rose truly found it laughable when she recalled how she had intended to utilize the mysterious power behind Sherfone to prove herself to her parents, and everyone back at Twilight Echo. Black Flame is right. How powerful a guild is not important. How powerful we are ourselves is the crucial point. Since we have joined Zero Wing, let us be the ones to change how others view Zero Wing. Aqua Rose explained loudly, in complete agreement with Sherfeng's opinion. Everyone fell silent at Aqua Rose's words, but a fiery fighting spirit could be seen growing in their eyes. That was right. They had originally intended to start from the very beginning. Now that they had a wealthy tycoon like Sherfone supporting them, what more should they be afraid of? A guild's development mainly relied on financial resources. The remaining factors would be the presence of experts to lead the guild in raiding team dungeons and completing epic quests that were impossible to complete. They would definitely turn Zero Wing into the #1 guild in White River City. At this moment, Sherfone sent Fire Dance and the others a message. "You can start now." Immediately, Sherfone received a reply. "Understood." After seeing this message, Sherfeng's gaze shifted towards everyone present in the meeting room. He then announced loudly, "I know that some of you still have some worries, so I'll give you all a little surprise. I'll let you all get a better understanding of just what Zero Wing is." "A better understanding of Zero Wing? Does this guild still have any secrets?" Everyone grew confused at Sherfeng's words. Everything about this guild was clear in one glance, so what secrets could there possibly be? The only thing that could possibly be a secret was the guild's frightening financial resources. With such a large fortune, they should have no problems getting their hands on the various welfare benefits that players would receive upon joining a guild. Moreover, Black Flame was the publicly acknowledged chief forger of Starmoon Kingdom. In the future, guild members would have no lack of weapons and equipment to use. However, this shouldn't count as a secret, right? Everyone can take a look at White River City's ranking list now, Sherfone said softly. Ranking list? Everyone promptly called out the ranking list to take a look. Is there something wrong with the ranking list? I remember that when I came to White River City, the top player on the ranking list was Lone Tyrant. At that time, he was only at level 15. How did he suddenly become level 19? Did the system make a mistake? No, that's not right. Look at the player ID. It's not Lone Tyrant. It might not be a mistake by the system. Look, the top 8 players have all been switched out. Even the player at 8th place is level 18 now. Lone Tyrant is still level 15, and he's placed 9th now. How is this possible? Level 18. Isn't this level too much of an exaggeration? Even at the Storm Empire, the highest level player is only at level 16. How could White River City possess 8 players who have managed to surpass the top player at Storm Empire? Wait. These players all belong to the same guild, and the guild's name is called Zero Wing! Everyone was dumbfounded when they discovered the changes in the ranking list. They trembled, not daring to believe their own eyes. These 8 players were actually their guild members. However, everyone's hearts were filled with questions. If Zero Wing had 8 such powerful experts, why did the guild remain unknown to the public even until now? This was simply unimaginable. This is the strength of Zero Wing? At this moment, Aqua Rose started renewing her evaluation of Surpass in this guild. Although Zero Wing was small, it was a gathering of experts. Wealth, manpower, and finally fame. As things were, Zero Wing possessed the foundation necessary to become a large guild. As long as they managed the guild benefits they offered properly, Zero Wing could easily become a large guild within a short period of time. It was no wonder Surpass looked so confident. Meanwhile, as Aqua Rose and her subordinates were reeling over their new discovery, the entire White River City had already been thrown into an uproar. Lone Tyrant, who had been monopolizing the first position on White River City's ranking list all this time, had actually been kicked off by someone else. Moreover, he wasn't just kicked off by a single person, but by 8. The sudden appearance of these 8 players made Lone Tyrant's previous glory look like a joke. It was as if these 8 players had merely been giving in to Lone Tyrant before, just like how an adult would indulge a little child. Now, however, they were no longer letting Lone Tyrant have his way. Otherwise, how would they explain this situation where 8 players had instantly taken away the top 8 spots on the ranking list? There was only one possible explanation: they had constantly been hiding their levels. These people are inhuman! Crap! The first place is level 19, and even the 8th place is level 18. I've only managed to hit level 13 after working so hard. Are they trying to make me despair? God, carry me, please! What kind of backing does this Zero Wing have? Aren't they a little too amazing? Is some major power planning to set up a stronghold in White River City? Many players within the White River City region were stirred up by this incident. The top 8 positions on the ranking list were actually taken over by a single guild. One could just imagine how powerful this guild was. Even Ouroboros, the number 1 guild in White River City, was not as powerful. Many independent players had started making inquiries into just what kind of guild Zero Wing was. There were even some independent players who had directly asked how they could join Zero Wing on the public forums. After all, with such leveling monsters in the guild, wouldn't they too be able to level up like a rocket if they joined? Suddenly, Zero Wing had become the hottest topic for every player in White River City, and many had expressed their willingness to join such a guild. Although independent players went into raptures over Zero Wing, the various large guilds, on the other hand, were having a headache over it. They held nothing back at investigating this new guild that suddenly popped up and also the top 8 players on the ranking list. However, the information they received made Zero Wing look even more mysterious, as they failed to find out even who the guild leader of Zero Wing was. The only thing they knew was that Fire Dance had once occupied the first place on the White River City ranking list. In addition, the other 7 players had also once been among the top 10 of the ranking list. Meanwhile, all 8 of these players shared a common point. All 8 of these players had vanished from the public eye for quite some time now. Previously, everyone had assumed that they had gone silent because they were overtaken on the list. However, the reality of the matter was that these players had intentionally hidden themselves simply to avoid discovery until now. Can someone tell me what is going on here? Lone Tyrant looked at the ranking list, bellowing. Just where did these bastards pop out from? At this moment, nothing was more humiliating for Lone Tyrant than his position on the ranking list. His past glory was already worthless now. Instead, he had become the laughingstock of everyone in White River City. Guild leader, I've already investigated these players. It seems that all of them are associated with Yifeng. Moreover, I've also looked up Zero Wing at the Adventurers Association. The guild was registered only recently, and it is possible that it is a guild formed by Yifeng himself, a ranger said. Good. Very good. At first, I thought that he had hidden himself out of self-awareness after I placed a bounty on him. However, it seems he is taking me lightly. since he has come out to slap me in the face, and has even started a guild in White River City, I will make him regret his decision. Immediately find out all the members belonging to Yifeng's guild. I want his guild destroyed. Lone Tyrant bellowed as he announced a command to the entire guild. He had to destroy this guild and flatten Shifeng at all costs. Not only was he doing this for himself, it was also the command of that mighty personage. Chapter 248 Extraordinary starts out from ordinary. Chapter 248 Extraordinary starts out from ordinary. Lone Tyrant wasn't the only person who was enraged by the matter of the ranking list. The other guilds in White River City were similarly furious. The ranking list was a place for guilds like them to increase their reputation. Although such a method of advertising was not as effective as obtaining the first clear of a dungeon, if they could occupy the ranking list for extended periods of time, it would still bring about significant effects. Now, however, Zero Wing occupied 8 of the top 10 positions, and many guilds were disgruntled over Zero Wing's monopoly of the ranking list. These guilds couldn't help but wish they could invite Zero Wing's guild leader and give him a piece of their mind to relieve their dissatisfaction. At the level 18 map Pyroxene Mountain, a 20-man elite team was currently clearing out the level 18 six-armed stone monkeys here. The six-armed stone monkeys were monsters with large bodies. Although they were 2 meters in height, their movements were extremely agile. Their physical defense was very high, and their only weakness was their low magical resistance. Hence, using large-scale magic attacks against these monsters would be very effective. Moreover, the six-armed stone monkeys lived in groups on this mountain, and players could very easily lure a group and promptly kill them. Snow, the ranking list has been occupied by Zero Wing. Moreover, their levels are all very high. It would be very difficult for us to catch up to them. It really makes you wonder how they managed to level up so quickly. Zhao Yueru currently sat on a rock, resting as she replenished her mana. After receiving a report from her subordinate, and promptly taking a look at the ranking list, she was immediately shocked by what she discovered. As a player who had originally ranked within the top 10 of the ranking list, Zhao Yueru knew very clearly just how large a gap there was between level 15 and level 18. At the very least, she would need to spend another week grinding before she could even reach level 18. This was equivalent to saying that these 8 players would remain on the ranking list for another week at the very minimum. However, this was assuming they did absolutely nothing during the entire week. If they were to continue grinding and leveling up at their current pace, who knew when there would be a change to the top 8 positions? As expected, they are very strong. That Yifeng has quite the ambition as well, even though he usually maintains a low profile. It seems that he has finally decided to take action now. Gentle Snow did not feel any shock when she looked at the IDs of the top 8 players. Snow, have you known all along? Zhao Yueru asked, confused. She had a very clear understanding of Shifeng's capabilities. Shifeng's strength, leadership ability, and observation ability were above average. However, these traits alone were not enough for him to establish a guild. Establishing a guild was not as easy as playing a game of house, since forming a guild signified one's intentions to compete for dominance with the other guilds. For a small guild like Shifeng's, maintaining a low profile would be more beneficial. If they did so, most of the large guilds would not have paid much attention to them. However, now that they'd done the exact opposite, they were practically telling the other guilds to come at them. After they decided to hide their levels, I figured that their levels were not that simple. Yifeng did not wish others to know, so he kept them hidden. Only I never imagined that their actual levels would be so high. Gentle Snow was greatly interested in these talents. She inwardly lamented the fact that these experts could only stay holed up in such a small guild. If they joined Ouroboros, they would definitely shine with even greater brilliance. If they stayed in such a small guild, they would very quickly fall. After all, a guild needed financial resources to develop itself. Gentle Snow firmly believed that Shifeng did not possess a frightening amount of financial resources, especially gold coins. There was also the lack of manpower. It would be impossible to develop a guild in God's domain just by relying on several players. In addition, they would also have to suffer the oppression of other large guilds. Hence, Gentle Snow determined that Zero Wing would not last long at all. However, at the end of the day, Sherfone was still her friend. Hence, Gentle Snow sent a message to Sherfone, congratulating him on establishing Zero Wing. As to how he should develop his guild, as an outsider, it would not be good for her to make any suggestions. On the third floor of the Star Street trading firm, the situation was not as grim as Gentle Snow believed it to be. If Gentle Snow could see this scene right now, she would definitely be shocked. After all, not only did Sherfone possess enough funding, he had also managed to recruit a group of players who had recently left a first-rate guild, Twilight Echo. He had also managed to recruit Aqua Rose, who was once an honorary elder of Twilight Echo. As someone who had once managed a first-rate guild with over 10,000 subordinates, Aqua Rose possessed a wealth of experience. Hence, when placed in a situation where she had a large amount of financial resources, but only a small guild of slightly more than 100 players to manage, she could carry out her tasks with little to no effort. Guild leader, I have received your intentions. I will increase our member count up to 5,000 to the best of my abilities. As for the matter relating to the guild perk system, for the moment, I will implement Twilight Echo's guild perks system as a temporary replacement. However, I hope that you can draft it as soon as possible. Otherwise, once some time passes, it would not be as easy to make changes to it. Aqua Rose now had a good grasp of Zero Wing's situation, and she felt very optimistic about Zero Wing's future prospects. Wealth, manpower, and fame. With all three things together, it would be very easy for them to recruit a large batch of new members. Then I'll have to trouble Miss Aqua with this matter. Plans could never keep up with change. Based on his original estimates, it would still have been a long time before he established his own guild. However, with the sudden addition of Aqua Rose, Sherfone could not afford to wait any longer. Even if his preparations were currently lacking, he still needed to establish the guild. Moreover, he had intended all along to deal with these guild matters as soon as possible. It was just that he still had other things he needed to handle. Now that there was a professional standing right before him, why wouldn't he make use of her? Guild leader Black Flame, I am already the vice leader of Zero Wing. Please just call me Aqua from now on. If guild leader doesn't have any other orders, then I will start making the necessary arrangements now, Aqua Rose said in a professional tone. Maybe because she had received a new position, Aqua Rose had very quickly entered a superwoman mode. Sherfone could only take a step back in this matter. He then returned to producing the Arclight shields and basic mana armor kits. Later on, the members of the guild continuously increased. The reason being, Sherfone had set the exchange of basic mana armor kits as one of the perks available to guild members. This item held a fatal attraction to independent players, and if new members wished to obtain them, they needed to exchange for them using guild contribution points. Meanwhile, there were many methods for them to obtain guild contribution points. 1. Dungeon diving. 2. Exchanging bronze-ranked equipment or above. 3. Making a contribution to the guild. The upper management of the guild would reward players who made a contribution with contribution points. 4. Carrying out guild quests. Contribution points would be awarded by the system in this case. 5. Personal guild reputation received reaching a certain amount. Hence, with so many methods available, guild members would have no need to worry about not being able to earn sufficient guild contribution points. However, to prevent abuse by opportunistic players, further restrictions were added to increase the difficulty for guild members to obtain the basic mana armor kits. Above all, one had to contribute a set amount of reputation points to the guild before being allowed to exchange for the armor kits. Secondly, one needed a large number of guild contribution points to exchange for the armor kits. Meanwhile, the total value of these guild contribution points was no lesser than 20 silver coins. With these two safeguards present, there would be no opportunity for guild members to abuse the guild perks system implemented. Meanwhile, during the time Sherfone was producing the Arclight shields and basic mana armor kits, Aqua Rose had also arranged for her subordinates to recruit players at the Trade Area and Adventurers Association. After half a day of recruitment, Zero Wing's member count increased explosively. From the original 100 or so members, there were now over 3,000 players in the guild. Moreover, the tide of players wanting to join the guild showed no signs of stopping anytime soon. Big Sis Aqua, the number of players wanting to join the guild hasn't decreased at all. If this situation continues, we can easily recruit double the target of 5,000 members. Should we increase the number of players we recruit? Follow the original plan. We won't be able to handle so many players right now. If we did so, it would instead force the guild into a period of stagnation, hindering our development. Increase the entry requirements for the guild. Raise the minimum level requirement from level 11 to level 12. Under Aqua Rose's management, the newly recruited guild members started taking on guild quests. Aqua Rose's direct subordinates had also split up and formed new parties to raid party dungeons, upgrading the equipment of the new members. Everything was flowing smoothly at Zero Wing, and it did not look like a newly established guild at all. Before he knew it, nighttime arrived at God's domain. After making a large number of basic mana armor kits and 3 fine gold ranked arclight shields, Shifeng immediately logged out of the game. The reason being, the Jean High Fellowship party that Shifeng had been looking forward to was being held today. He needed to make some preparations before he attended the party. Chapter 249 Gathering of Elites. Chapter 249 Gathering of Elites. The first rays of the morning sun pierced through the window, shining on Shifeng, who was currently working out in the living room. Currently, Shifeng no longer carried out the intense muscle exercises of the past few days. He quietly stood still for a long time, before slowly lowering his body, entering into a horse stance. Closing his eyes, Shifeng relaxed his body. Suddenly, his chest expanded as he inhaled deeply. He then exhaled, a trail of white mist coming out of his mouth. Like a water pistol, the white mist that shot out from his mouth managed to actually reach a distance of over 2 meters before gradually dissipating. If any normal person were to witness this scene, they would definitely be shocked by it. The season right now was summer. Yet, Shifeng had recreated a scene that could usually be found only during winter time. After repeating this process for an hour, Shifeng stopped his rhythmic breathing. The effect of this 8-section brocade exercise is quite good. I've only trained in it for an hour, and I can already feel my body becoming lighter. The exercise has also significantly cleared my mind. Shifeng clenched and released his fists. His entire body felt comfortably warm, and his 5 senses felt keener than usual. This 8-section brocade exercise was something he had accidentally stumbled upon in the past, after becoming the guild leader of Shadow, when he visited an antique shop. Originally, he had planned to test the effectiveness of the exercise. However, after the company hired a martial arts master as an instructor at the workshop, Shifeng gave up on that notion. During those days, people were already going crazy over God's domain. In order to improve their actual combat skills, they would practice martial arts like madmen. Naturally, Shifeng was no exception. At that time, however, he was no longer young, and his body was similarly no longer in its prime. The things he could do were limited, and the most he could do was practice some Tai Chi and 8 trigram palms, training his techniques as much as he could. However, his current self was different. Not only had he started consuming nutrient fluids at a much earlier period than in the past, after undergoing several workout sessions, his current body's physique far surpassed the one of his past. There was a saying in martial arts: internally, spirit and breathing are practiced, externally, muscles, bones, and skin are practiced. Meanwhile, Shifeng related this saying to the 8-section brocade. Only, he had not thought the exercise would yield such good results. Although the exercise did not increase his body's strength, it refreshed his psyche and allowed him to remain calm at all times. Such an effect was an unexpected harvest for Shifeng. After Shifeng had his breakfast, he received a call from Zhao Ruishi. She said that she was going to give him a ride to the fellowship party. When Shifeng arrived downstairs of his apartment, he immediately discovered Zhao Ruishi standing in front of a blue sports car. She wore a pure white dress today, while her hair was tied up into a double ponytail. Her pure and beautiful appearance attracted the attention of every man that walked past her, sending them into a daze as drool leaked out of their mouths. "Let's go." Zhao Ruoxi smiled sweetly when she noticed Shifeng walking over. "Is this your car?" Shifeng looked at the blue sports car before him, feeling somewhat surprised. Suspicion of Zhao Ruoxi's identity started growing within him. This blue sports car was a limited edition maglev Ferrari Z75, and it had a selling price of 6 million credits. One would not be able to find one even in the entire Jinhai city, yet Zhao Ruoxi actually owned one herself. "Of course." "What?" Surprised? "It's just that, normally, I don't like driving it to school. However, we are going to a formal occasion today, so I need to make an impression." Zhao Ruoxi nodded her head slightly in reply. "Hurry up and get on. The venue of the fellowship party is quite a distance away." Although Shifeng was mildly astonished by this new revelation, he didn't attempt to delve further into the matter. After all, everyone had their own secrets. Hence, he slid into the passenger seat. Soon after, Zhao Ruoxi stepped on the accelerator, and with a whoosh, the Ferrari Z75 sped along the road of the neighborhood. Envy filled the eyes of the many pedestrians walking on the street as they watched the Ferrari Z75 speed down the road. They inwardly wished that they too could drive such a sports car one day. The trip, which should have taken over an hour by car, was reduced to just slightly over 30 minutes by Zhao Ruoxi. Are you carsick?" Zhao Ruoxi asked curiously, looking at Shifeng's pale complexion after she alighted from the car. Shifeng was a fighting expert within the school, and he was a person capable of knocking down a powerhouse like Zhou Yihu in a single move. Yet he had actually gotten carsick. If others heard about this, probably nobody would believe it. "It's nothing. My body just feels slightly uncomfortable. It might be due to the breakfast I had this morning." Shifeng casually made an excuse. In truth, however, Shifeng really wanted to say, "You call that driving? That's practically attempted murder." However, since Zhao Ruoxi had brought him here out of goodwill, he naturally would not say such words. "Then, have you taken some medicine?" Zhao Ruoxi asked in worry, blinking her eyes. Shifeng turned speechless. The Jinhai Fellowship Party was being held at a 5-star hotel. Although the event was organized by Jinhai University, the participants were not limited to the students and staff of the university. Other universities and elites of society would also be participating in this event, and it would not be an exaggeration to call this fellowship party a gathering of elites. The Jinhai Fellowship Party was an annual event held in Jinhai City. Even though plenty of people wished to participate in this event, not everyone received the chance to actually do so. Moreover, the fellowship party held today was unlike any other before it. Aside from having invited personages that participated in Jinhai City's fighting competition, the event organizers had also invited many experts from gaming workshops this time around. As to why they would decide to invite such gaming experts, it was mainly due to the growing popularity of God's domain. People could already see the limitless potential of God's domain. Hence, many wished to form a good relationship in advance with these gaming experts. The decision of the event organizers was undeniably the correct one to make, because several years from now, every single gaming expert that participated in this fellowship party would grow to become a famous celebrity in Jinhai City. Just as Zhao Ruoxi and Shifeng were about to enter the hotel, Shifeng was unexpectedly blocked by the security guard at the door. "I'm sorry, sir, but your name is not on the list of invited guests. You cannot enter this place," the tall and robust security guard leader said in a cold voice, looking at Shifeng with a sharp gaze. This security guard leader was a former member of the Special Forces, and he had experienced multiple battlefields before. The murderous intent he radiated could scare most of the people he met, and others usually did not dare to look directly at him. If a normal person was the focus of the stare of this security guard leader, their hearts would immediately palpitate with fear as they redirected their gaze somewhere else. Yet, even after receiving this security guard's glare, Shifeng's expression still remained as placid as before, his lack of reaction confusing this security guard greatly. "That's not possible. I registered Shifeng myself. Can you check again?" Zhao Ruoxi's brows wrinkled. She had personally gone to the student council at the university, and had directly handed 2 persons' worth of participation fees to the student council president. How was it possible that she was registered, while Cherfone was not? The security guard captain scanned Cherfone once more. In the end, the results he got still showed him as unknown, and that he was not allowed entry. To make sure that nothing was wrong with the machine, he tried it on other people as well, and the results showed that nothing was wrong with the machine. That's not right. I registered both of us together. I'll contact Hyukai. Something must have gone wrong somewhere. I'll get him to fix it immediately. Zhao Ruoxi said. Sorry, but I have to do things according to the rules. Anyone not registered is not allowed to enter. Impromptu registrations are not acceptable either. These are the rules. The security guard captain said coldly. Who is the person responsible here? Zhao Ruoxi asked angrily. Cherfone was someone she had personally invited. Now that Cherfone was barred entry, how could she not get angry? Miss, please stop making things difficult for me. This is how the rules have always been. I can't change it just because of one person. The security guard captain could not help but soften his tone when he discerned that Zhao Ruoxi's identity was not simple. At this moment, several people walked out from the hotel. One of them was none other than the person Zhao Ruoxi was looking for, the president of the student council, Hyukai. Walking beside him were people Cherfone were familiar with, Ling Failong, Zhou Yuvu, and Qin Xiu. Meanwhile, it was Shifeng's first time to meet the student council president, Hyukai. The person in question had a stout body and round face, and his voice when he spoke was extremely gentle. It was very hard to imagine such a person being able to actually become the student council president. Fellow student Zhao Ruoxi, what urgent matters do you have? Why are you looking for me so frantically? Hyukai asked. Zhao Ruoxi then gave a short summary of what had happened. I am truly sorry about this, fellow student Zhao Ruoxi. I never would have imagined that such a mistake would occur in the registrations. I sincerely apologize, but since things have already gotten to this point, I am helpless as well. These are the rules that the school set long ago. Regarding your loss, I'll compensate you with double the amount you paid. Hyukai sent a glance at Cherfone, a smile on his face as he spoke. Standing to one side, both Ling Failong and Zhou Yuvu looked at Cherfone with mocking smiles on their faces. Even an idiot could tell that this matter had something to do with them. Chapter 250 Serious Inquiries Only. Chapter 250 Serious Inquiries Only. Helpless about it. Zhao Ruoxi's eyes widened in rage. Hyukai, this is your mistake. You need to think of a way to fix this. At this moment, Ling Failong stood out and interrupted, saying in a gentle tone, Ruoxi, you know that this is only a small mistake. Something must have gone wrong with the system, so you can't just put the blame on Hyukai. Then what should Cherfone do? Since you already know something went wrong, does that mean Cherfone is allowed to go in now? Zhao Ruoxi completely ignored Ling Failong, directly asking Hyukai. In any case, you can prove that Cherfone has indeed registered for this event. Cherfone also has no problem proving that he is a student of our school. Don't tell me that this is still not enough? Fellow student Zhao Ruoxi, I can indeed verify that Cherfone has registered for this event. However, whether he can enter or not is not up to a student council president like me to decide. You have to ask this big brother security guard here. Hyukai shifted his gaze towards the security guard leader, instantly pushing all responsibility on the security guard. Hyukai then revealed a bitter smile, making the situation seem as if it had nothing to do with him. The security guard's mouth clearly twitched when he listened to Hyutsai's words. Hyukai obviously did not help Cherfone register for this event to begin with, yet Hyukai was pushing everything on him now. If Hyukai insisted that Cherfone be allowed into the hotel, what could a mere security guard captain like him do? Hyukai had already made his intentions very clear. Absolutely not allowed, that was Hyutsai's answer. However, looking at Zhao Ruoxi, she too did not seem like someone he could provoke. Otherwise, why would Hyukai even bother making so many superficial excuses? Caught in a dilemma, This security guard captain did not know which would be the wiser choice to make. Currently, Zhao Ruoxi's wrathful gaze had already shifted to the security guard captain. She asked in a grim tone, "What do you say? Me?" Even though he had experienced many battlefields before, the security guard captain could not help but hesitate at this moment. In the end, however, he still said strictly, "I have my responsibilities. Miss, please don't make things difficult for me." "You." "Class monitor, it's fine. This matter can't be helped. If I can't enter, so be it." Shifeng held back the raging Zhao Ruoxi. He then beamed a smile towards Hiyukai and the others who were really good at spoiling his good fortune. "It is great that fellow student Shifeng can understand my troubles. This was truly an accident. I guarantee that there will not be a similar situation like this the next time." Hiyukai sneered. "Right. A situation like this won't happen the next time." Zhou Yuhu laughed loudly. Ling Feilong sent a contemptuous smile at Shifeng, before saying in a gentle tone to Zhao Ruoxi, "Ruoxi, let's go. Uncle Jianhua has been anxiously waiting for you for a while now." "Why is Uncle Jianhua here?" Zhao Ruoxi was clearly surprised when she heard this name. However, when she thought about how Shifeng's problem still remained unsolved, a sudden inspiration flashed across her mind. "That's right! Uncle Jianhua is one of the sponsors for the fellowship party. He should be able to get you in. Shifeng, wait here. I'll ask Uncle Jianhua to come immediately. That way, you'll definitely be able to enter." Shifeng nodded his head in reply. He then watched as Zhao Ruoxi frantically walked into the hotel. In the next instant, however, Shifeng noticed Ling Feilong sending a cold smile his way. Shifeng felt a bad premonition at this sight. Seeing that Zhao Ruoxi had left, Hiyukai revealed a mocking smile as he said, "Fellow student Shifeng, please return from whence you came. This fellowship party is not fit for someone like you." He then told the security guard leader, "Remember, he is not allowed to set even a foot in this building. Otherwise, you can just pack up and leave." "Understood." Finished speaking, Hiyukai and the others walked back into the hotel, their laughter filling the air as they left. The security guard then fixed his gaze at Shifeng. As long as Shifeng dared come near this building, he would personally chase him out. However, Shifeng did not react in anger. On the contrary, he was feeling extraordinarily calm right now. "If you don't want me to go in, then so be it. In any case, I don't have to actually be in the party to do what I came to do." Shifeng turned around and left, the corner of his lips raised slightly. The Jin High Fellowship party held at this time was the perfect chance for him to recruit new members for his guild. If he were to miss it, who knew how long he would have to wait before another such chance arrived? The reason why a small guild like Shadow could survive in God's domain was mainly due to the group of people they had recruited at this event. This group of people had helped Shadow endure its hardest times. Otherwise, with the little manpower Shadow possessed, there was no way they could avoid annexation by a large guild. Although Zero Wing already had a powerhouse like Aqua Rose and also a group of elite players in its midst, a guild could never have an excess of powerhouses and elite players. Since he was not allowed to recruit inside the event venue, it should be fine if he did it outside, right? Hence, Shifeng visited a nearby printing shop. Soon after, he set up a large sign a short distance away from the venue of the fellowship party. "Zero Wing Guild recruiting new members. Serious inquiries only." Although the color of the words on the sign was monochrome and looked somewhat shabby, it still clearly conveyed the meaning Shifeng wanted. As to whether or not others would recognize the sign for what it was, Shifeng was not worried about that one little bit. After all, Zero Wing's fame was not limited to just White River City, but the entire Star Moon Kingdom. On the official forums of the Star Moon Kingdom, Zero Wing's popularity had long since gone off the charts. Not to mention having 8 players occupying the top positions on the ranking list, the levels of these players had even exceeded everyone's imaginations. The lowest leveled player among them was level 18. This was a level that elicited awe in others. Even when ranked throughout the entire Star Moon Kingdom, these 8 players would still be the top 8 players. Not to mention a first-rate guild, Even an apex first-rate guild could not achieve such a feat. How could people not yearn to join such a guild? Hence, many independent players wished they could join Zero Wing. There were even thousands of threads posted on the forums by independent players, all of them expressing their intentions to join Zero Wing. However, Zero Wing only recruited members at White River City, so not everyone could actually join the guild. Shortly after the sign was raised, it had already started attracting attention. Little How, look at that sign! It's actually Zero Wing recruiting members. Zero Wing Guild? How is that possible? That guild is very mysterious. I heard that the strength of the 8 great experts of that guild is several times more amazing than even the experts of first-rate guilds. How could they be recruiting members at this place? If it really is Zero Wing recruiting, I will definitely be the first one to apply. The passers-by who noticed this sign immediately started a discussion among themselves. After all, Zero Wing was simply too famous right now. They could only be described with words such as mysterious and strong. Meanwhile, in one of the lounges on the 10th floor of the hotel was an old man dressed in luxurious clothing. Although the man was already in his 50s, he had a keenness that belied his age, his sharp gaze capable of seeing through people's hearts. This person was none other than Zhao Jianhua. Second uncle, why have you come here today? Zhao Ruoxi smiled sweetly at this old man after entering the room. Zhao Jianhua was the younger brother of Zhao Ruoxi's father. He was also one of the board members of the Zhao group. However, Zhao Jianhua did not have any children of his own, so he had always loved Zhao Ruoxi dearly as if she were his own daughter, treating her like the most delicate flower in the world. Of course I am here to take a look at you. You're always staying at school recently, not bothering to even pay a visit back home. Zhao Jianhua replied with a doting smile. Second uncle, you're one of the sponsors for this get-together, right? I have a friend who wishes to join this event as well. Could you let him in? Zhao Ruoxi said sweetly, grabbing and shaking Zhao Jianhua's arm. Are you referring to that Shifeng? Zhao Jianhua's brows wrinkled, his expression sinking immediately. How did you know, second uncle? Zhao Ruoxi asked curiously. I was the one who arranged for him to be barred from entering. He is merely a mediocre person that came from an ordinary family. You shouldn't associate with such a person. You are the Zhao Group's successor, an elite standing at the very top of the pyramid of society. Others will gossip about you if they learn that you are associating with this kind of person. I am very clear about people like this Shifeng. People like him will do whatever it takes to get ahead, and there is no limit to the amount of flattery he'll spout. He does not like you at all. He simply covets the assets of the Zhao Group. I definitely won't allow him to continue tricking you. As for Shifeng's side of things, I will speak with him personally. Chapter 251 Great Trees Are Good for Shade. Chapter 251 Great Trees Are Good for Shade. Zhao Ruoxi was silent for a long time after receiving Zhao Jianhua's lecture. Zhao Ruoxi never would have thought that her second uncle, who had always pampered her to the extreme, would say such words to her. Moreover, he had described Shifeng as such an ugly person. There was clearly a serious misunderstanding here. Someone had definitely worked on him. Second uncle, whom did you hear this from? Zhao Ruoxi did not immediately refute Zhao Jianhua. Instead, she wanted to find out just what was going on right now. It isn't important who told me about it. Ruoxi, in the future, you are not allowed to associate with people like Shifeng anymore. This is also elder brother's wish. Zhao Ruoxi had already been corrupted by Shifeng, and nothing he said would actually change her mind. Hence, he needed to take decisive measures to end their relationship once and for all. Afterwards, he would approach Shifeng and have him completely distance himself from Zhao Ruoxi. Meanwhile, Zhao Ruoxi found herself stuck between laughter and tears. She knew that her second uncle was saying these things for her own good. However, she and Shifeng clearly weren't in the kind of relationship her second uncle thought they were in. They were merely classmates. Yet, judging from her second uncle's words, it sounded as if she and Shifeng's relationship had already reached the point where they were inseparable lovers joined together at the hip. Zhao Ruoxi couldn't help but laugh as she said, Second uncle, since when did you start providing cover for someone? Let me guess, this person must be Ling Failong, right? That's right. It is indeed Ling Failong. Since Zhao Ruoxi had already guessed correctly, Zhao Jianhua did not contradict her. Instead, he straightforwardly argued. Shifeng is only a nobody. On the other hand, I feel that this child, Failong, is not bad. Not only does he look good, he is also ambitious and possesses great skills in fighting. Nowadays, the popularity of God's domain has already reached never-before-seen heights, and I hear that Failong Brad is even in the upper echelon of the Shadow Guild. He also has a very good insight towards the future. Yet, instead of choosing a youth with good potential like him, you chose to go with an incompetent person. I am sure elder brother would stand together with me on this matter as well. Second uncle, you're really misunderstanding things here. There isn't anything between me and Shifeng. Zhao Ruoxi was utterly at a loss for words. Rather, she felt furious about Ling Feilong's actions. However, she was inwardly rejoicing as well right now. Thanks to Shifeng's appearance, she could finally see Ling Feilong's true colors clearly. Misunderstand? Your second uncle possesses discerning eyes, and I very much understand your situation. In any case, I will absolutely not allow that brat to enter this event. I am still capable of that, at least. Zhao Jianhua did not believe Zhao Ruoxi's words. He knew how very sly Zhao Ruoxi had been since her childhood. In any case, he refused to be fooled in this matter. Zhao Jianhua was not some shrewd businessman, nor was he part of the Zhao Group's management. Instead, he was a fighter that loved martial arts. Only afterwards did he start handling the security department of the Zhao Group. The real boss of the Zhao Group was Zhao Ruoxi's father, Zhao Jianxian. Hence, Zhao Jianhua had always liked future professional fighters like Ling Failong. After all, only a strong man could properly protect his own woman. Yet, what was Shifeng? Zhao Jianhua had Shifeng investigated, and he discovered that Shifeng was only a weakling who was constantly bullied by others. A person like Shifeng was simply too unreliable. Hence, Zhao Jianhua was adamant at ending Zhao Ruoxi's relationship with Shifeng this time. While Zhao Jianhua and Zhao Ruoxi were having their discussion, Ling Failong, who was outside the door, eavesdropping on their conversation, secretly felt delighted. Although he could not directly defeat Shifeng, he could still play Shifeng to death using a roundabout approach. In addition, he had also informed Zhao Jianxian about this matter in advance. With both Zhao Jianhua and Zhao Jianxian vehemently opposing their relationship, even if Shifeng had seduced and captivated Zhao Ruoxi's heart completely, the two of them could never be together. Hence, as long as he could develop himself in shadow, becoming one of the core members of the guild, Zhao Jianhua and Zhao Jianxian would definitely support his pursuit of Zhao Ruoxi. After obtaining the wealth of the Zhao Group, he could easily take control of the entire Shadow Guild. At that time, what would Shifeng amount to? What would Zhang Luowei amount to? What would Lan Hailong amount to? Yu Kai, you've done well this time. I'll put in a few good words for you when I meet up with Brother Zhang next time. After you graduate, just come to Shadow. Ling Failong said with satisfaction, patting Yu Kai, who stood beside him in a deferential manner. This is but a trivial matter. In the future, I will be relying on Brother Long for support, Yu Kai said with a smile. Although Yu Kai, as the student council president, was indeed an amazing character in Jinhai University, after he graduated from the school, however, he would only amount to nothing. Nobody in society would give a damn about him. Aware of this reality, Yu Kai had no choice but to agree to Ling Feilong's request to remove Shifeng's registration for the fellowship party. Furthermore, Zhou Jianhua himself had even instructed him not to allow Shifeng entry into the event. Since he could satisfy both parties with just an action, killing two birds with one stone, why wouldn't he do so? Only, either Yu Kai nor Ling Failong knew that, at this moment, the hotel surroundings had become extremely lively. Originally, the Jinhai Fellowship Party was a well-known event throughout Jinhai City. Hence, many reporters and media outlets would show up to cover it. There was also no lack of onlookers hanging around the event venue. However, the outside of the event venue was much livelier compared to previous years. Instead of just a small crowd, there was a sea of people here. Young and old, tall and short, all kinds of people could be seen lining up on the streets. Some of the uninformed passers-by even thought an international celebrity had showed up at this place. It made them wonder just what these people were lining up for. "Little brother, what's happening in front? Why are there so many people lining up here?" "Huh? You don't know? The Zero Wing Guild is recruiting members." "Zero Wing Guild? What's that?" "Of course it is Star Moon Kingdom's most amazing and mysterious guild." "What's Star Moon Kingdom?" "Crap! Have you even played God's Domain before? You don't even know that? Which hole did you crawl out from?" The passers-by mostly consisted of office workers, and they usually worked from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Their lives were mostly taken up by their work, so how would they find the time to play a game? Naturally, they would not know anything about God's Domain. However, when these office workers looked at the hundreds of people lining up, many of them started feeling confused about the game called God's Domain. They wondered just what sort of game God's Domain was, to actually have such a strong influence on so many people. It was simply a guild from a game recruiting members. Yet, there were actually several hundred people applying to join. Moreover, the numbers were still increasing without end. In a short moment, the number of people applying might even break through to the thousands. However, the most unfathomable thing was that even the reporters from television stations were running over to carry out a live broadcast on this situation. Just what sort of situation was this? Isn't it just membership recruitment for a guild in a game? You can't even earn a cent from playing a game, so what's the point of wasting so much time lining up? What foolish people! One of the passers-by, who was a white-collared elite, mockingly laughed. The instant this white-collar elite said those words, many of the people lining up immediately turned contemptuous gazes at him, as if they were looking at an idiot. What an idiot! He doesn't even know what membership recruitment by a guild in God's Domain means. No doubt he'll be in the rat race all his life. What are you minding him for? How would he know that when a guild is recruiting members in reality, they are also recruiting professional players for the guild's gaming workshop? A white-collar elite like him would be earning 4,000 to 5,000 credits a month. He would naturally look down on us part-timers who can only make 2,000 to 3,000 credits a month. What are you saying? That's the salary for an outer member of a guild. If we become official members, then we'll have a minimum salary of 5,000 a month. Meanwhile, elite members could get at least 10,000. Zero Wing is also recruiting quite a lot of members this time. They're recruiting 300 outer members, 100 official members, and 20 elite members. With so many available spots, we might even get a chance to join Zero Wing. I guess you're right. I also hear that core members get a base salary of 50,000 credits. I wonder just how much the 8 great experts of Zero Wing are earning each month. I hear that their salaries are over 10 million. Previously, there had been a financial corporation that offered them an astronomical amount of 8 million, yet, none of the 8 experts had even reacted to it. Zero Wing's wealth is simply unimaginable. The players lining up started a discussion among themselves. However, the white-collar elite was no longer as calm as he was before. After all, he had only managed to obtain a monthly salary of 5,000 credits after attending countless interviews and working for his current company for 3 years. Yet, he was barely comparable to an official member of a gaming guild. Moreover, these gamers were only working part-time during the night. Suddenly, this office worker had the urge to join the queue as well. While Surpass was interviewing player after player on the street, his actions had also attracted the attention of the guests participating in the fellowship party. It was especially true for the large-scale workshops in Jinhai City. Some of the professional fighters that planned to start their career in God's Domain also grew interested by this sight. Ha! Zero Wing has actually showed up at this place. Attending this fellowship party this time wasn't a waste of my time at all. Zero Wing Guild? Let's hurry up and meet up with that person. This is a great chance for our workshop. Who knows how many people and financial corporations are trying but failing to meet someone in the upper echelons of the guild. We are truly fortunate to be able to meet one at this event. Chapter 252 I Am a Coward. Chapter 252 I Am a Coward. On the highest floor, the 36th floor, of the Golden Bridge Hotel, the Jean High Fellowship Party had officially started. Most of the participants present at this event were well-known figures from various sectors of Jean High City. On the contrary, only a minority consisted of students who were about to graduate from Jean High University. The Jean High Fellowship Party held this year was the grandest one yet, and the number of people invited this year was also the highest compared to past occasions. As a result, the soon-to-be graduates of Jean High University were provided with more career prospects. This was especially true for players of God's domain. Many people from all walks of life had an optimistic view on God's domain's future, because aside from allowing its players to experience battles and adventures, God's domain also allowed players to enjoy various lifestyles and forms of entertainment. The array of activities one could experience in God's domain was much more abundant than in the real world, and this aspect of the game allowed many corporations in the real world to integrate and develop themselves in the game. Currently, there was an energetic old man in his 60s, who wore a white tunic, sitting at a corner of the event venue. Meanwhile, surrounding the old man were some of the most influential and powerful figures of Jean High City. Zhao Ruoxi's second uncle, Zhao Jianhua, was seated among these powerful personages as well. "Are they not here yet?" the old man in the white tunic suddenly asked Hiyukai, who stood beside him. "They've already arrived, but—" Hiyutsai's expression faltered as he hesitated on his words. The elderly man before him was both the headmaster and chairman of Jean High University, Su Wenqing, and he was a very influential man in Jean High City. The reason being, under Su Wenqing's tutelage, many students had graduated from Jean High University with outstanding achievements, and such a contribution made Su Wenqing a well-known and well-respected character in the various sectors of Jean High City. Su Wenqing's influence was so great that he could easily send Jean High City into an uproar with his words alone. "Speak," Su Wenqing suddenly said in a cold voice. "They're outside right now," Hiyukai answered feebly, the sudden pressure making the knees of an inexperienced youth like him go weak. "Since they're already outside, why aren't they coming in?" Su Wenqing questioned. "Don't tell me they want this decrepit old man to invite them in? Who do they think they are? They actually want Elder Su to invite them in? Do they think that, just because they're good at playing a game, they can disregard us?" Zhao Jianhua angrily said. "You few, go take a look at the situation and call them up. Tell them that I said so." Su Wenqing felt that something was amiss after light contemplation. Aside from the professional players from gaming workshops, quite a few well-known figures from fighting competitions were still absent from the event as well. "Yes." Receiving the command, Su Wenqing's bodyguards, who stood by his side, immediately took the elevator down the hotel. These bodyguards wore black suits and black sunglasses, and all of them had tall and robust bodies. "I don't understand what is going through these people's minds. What's the point of staying downstairs instead of coming up? Has something happened downstairs?" Zhao Jianhua felt furious at the absentees, and his view of professional gamers lowered even further now. In his opinion, no matter how good a gamer was, they were, in the end, still gamers. Without corporations supporting and financing them, they would only remain as small fries in society. "I too am curious. Just what sort of mentality do young people have nowadays? Maybe we old folks are no longer able to keep up with the changing times?" said a middle-aged man dressed in black martial artist clothing with a self-deprecating laugh. As if he was a great ocean, the man gave others a calm and gentle feeling, and one would not be able to find a hint of energetic spirit coming off this man. However, nobody present in the room would dare look down on this middle-aged man. The reason being, this man was Jean High City's well-known martial arts master, Chen Wu. Several years ago, Chen Wu was the reigning champion of Jean High City's fighting competition. He was the uncontested number one back then. However, now that he was older, he no longer participated in any fighting competitions. Instead, he had started his own dojo in Jean High City, which was very well received. "Master Chen Wu must be joking," Young people nowadays just don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. It is only a virtual reality game. With Master Chen Wu's skills, if you entered that game called God's Domain, you can easily become one of the apex experts there, Zhao Jianhua said. The real world and the virtual world are different things entirely. Moreover, times have changed. The future belongs to the younger folk now. Chen Wu shook his head. As a martial arts practitioner, he was very sensitive towards matters that occurred around him. He could clearly feel the change of an era approaching quickly. It was especially true with the appearance of God's domain. Ignoring the fact that corporations all over the world were already investing in God's domain one after another, just the number of players the game had already surpassed one's imagination. Anybody could easily tell how huge a potential God's domain had. Moreover, there had to be yet another secret being kept hidden about God's domain. Although Chen Wu did not know what exactly this secret was, he did know that it was a secret capable of attracting the countless corporations around the world to scramble madly over. The virtual reality game known as God's Domain was definitely not as simple as it appeared to be. Meanwhile, although the various major corporations in Jinhai City had similarly invested in God's Domain, they were simply like stray cats that smelled the scent of fish. They had no idea at all what sort of secrets God's Domain possessed. After Chen Wu and Zhao Jianhua chatted for a bit, Su Wenqing received a call from one of his bodyguards. Elder Su, the people down here say that they have an important matter they need to do right now. They will need some time before they can go up. Important matter? What could be more important than the fellowship party this time? Don't they want the sponsorship and support from other corporations anymore? Su Wenqing's tone turned grim. Although he did not show it on his face, many who knew Su Wenqing's temper immediately realized he was angry. It seems that they are trying to meet with one of Zero Wing Guild's upper management. However, there are too many people lining up right now, so it will be some time before they are done. Zero Wing Guild? Is it a guild from God's Domain? Su Wenqing asked, curious. Wasn't it just a gaming guild? Was there a need for so many famous gaming workshops to try to suck up to it? Could this Zero Wing Guild be a very powerful existence within God's Domain? Although Su Wenqing did not play virtual reality games himself, he was still familiar with the well-known guilds within the virtual reality world. Even so, Zero Wing was not among the famous guilds he knew of. They say that Zero Wing is an extremely famous guild in Star Moon Kingdom. In certain aspects, Zero Wing is even superior to first-rate guilds. Many corporations are also wishing to meet the upper management of Zero Wing. However, due to Zero Wing being overly mysterious, nobody has ever found a chance to make contact, so none of them want to miss this chance right now. Putting it in such a way, this means that Zero Wing Guild isn't an existence that can be ignored. Su Wenqing grew interested in this Zero Wing Guild, especially since such a guild had appeared in a city like Jinhai City. To think that such an amazing guild has appeared in our Jinhai City without this old man knowing. Since it is so, invite this representative of Zero Wing Guild to come up and have a chat. This old man wishes to see just what kind of person this representative is. Moreover, it would not be a good thing to have so many participants of the fellowship party staying downstairs instead of being present at the actual event. He might as well have the representative of Zero Wing come up. That way, the guests from other gaming workshops could also participate in the fellowship party. Everyone was shocked when they heard Su Wenqing actually inviting an unknown guild representative to the fellowship party. Meanwhile, outside the Golden Bridge Hotel, Su Wenqing's bodyguards had already met up with Shifeng. They then relayed their employer's intentions to Shifeng, inviting him upstairs. However, to these bodyguards' surprise, Shifeng immediately rejected the invitation. Mr. Shifeng, Elder Su is wholeheartedly inviting you to join him upstairs. I guarantee that you will not be disappointed. The leader of the bodyguards patiently persuaded Shifeng. I understand. However, I am still not done with the recruitment here. Also, even if I do agree, you'll have to ask the people lining up here if they'll agree to let me go. Shifeng smiled as he pointed at the long line in front of him consisting of over 1,000 people. He then continued. Moreover, even if I am willing to go with you, someone inside will also chase me out again. I am a coward. That person has threatened me and said that I am not allowed to set even a foot in the hotel. I still have many people I need to interview, so please stop making things difficult for me. Su Wenqing's bodyguards were immediately rendered speechless. Wasn't this just blatant disregard of them? However, they had no choice but to report this matter back to Su Wenqing. What? Someone is threatening him from entering? Su Wenqing couldn't help but laugh when he heard these words. He then said, Then tell him that, as long as this old man is here, I guarantee that nothing will happen to him in this fellowship party, and nobody will dare chase him out. However, he still says that he doesn't dare enter. He doesn't wish to be chased out for a second time, the bodyguard said helplessly. Chased out for a second time? Does that mean he was originally a guest of this fellowship party? Yes. Su Wenqing was stunned. However, anger immediately shot to his head when he finally reacted. Someone had actually dared to chase out a guest that he invited. Wasn't this just giving him a slap across his old face? Who? Who dares chase away a guest I invited? At this moment, Su Wenqing's voice turned extremely chilling. Although he was not a martial artist himself, the pressure he emitted caused many of those present to become fearful. The bodyguard trembled as he slowly said, Hiyukai. Chapter 253 5 Demon Generals. Chapter 253 5 Demon Generals. Good. Very good. Although Su Wenqing was smiling, the tone he spoke with was as chilling as the winter cold. At this moment, even an idiot could tell that Su Wenqing was furious. Due to the conversation being held over the phone, nobody but Su Wenqing himself could hear what his bodyguard had said. However, based on the words Su Wenqing had spoken, the people around him knew that someone had done something to badly anger Su Wenqing. Where a matter such as chasing away an invited guest was concerned, neither Chen Wu nor Zhao Jianhua had such courage to do so, as doing so was equivalent to giving Su Wenqing a slap across his face. Everyone valued their prestige. Since this person had dared give Su Wenqing a slap, then this person shouldn't expect Su Wenqing to welcome it with a smile. At this moment, Zhao Jianhua, Chen Wu, and everyone else started feeling pity for the person that angered Su Wenqing. This was practically bearding the lion in its den, a truly suicidal action. However, they were also very curious about the person that dared to chase away an invited guest. They wanted to know just who this daring person was. Hiyukai, come over here. Su Wenqing looked at Hiyukai, who was cluelessly standing at one side. Confused, Hiyukai thought Su Wenqing had some orders for him to carry out, failing to notice that Su Wenqing's chilling intent was directed at him. Go downstairs and invite that person up here. If he isn't willing to come up, then you don't have to come back either, Su Wenqing said coldly. Headmaster, this. Hiyukai was utterly confused about the meaning of Su Wenqing's words. You'll naturally understand after you go downstairs. Su Wenqing sent a glance at the bodyguard beside him. The bodyguard intuitively understood Su Wenqing's intentions, and he immediately grabbed Hiyukai and dragged him towards the elevator. Headmaster Su, there must be a misunderstanding somewhere. I really didn't do something like that. Hiyukai shouted in a panic, the fat on his body jiggling. Even if he was given 100 lives, he would never dare kick out an invited guest. He was merely a student of Jinhai University, and nobody among the invited guests was someone he could afford to offend. If he had to name someone that he had really driven away, then the only person that came to mind would be Shifeng. However, Shifeng was simply a student that was not worth mentioning. He was not an invited guest at all. No matter how Hiyukai looked at this situation, Shifeng would not be related to it in any way. This brat sure has guts, Zhao Jianhua said in an ambiguous tone. It was unknown whether he was actually praising Hiyukai or disparaging him. However, everyone else was in full agreement with Zhao Jianhua's words. The bystanders could clearly tell that this incident was caused by Hiyukai. This incident had truly given them a shock. Hiyukai was merely a student council president, an insignificant existence, yet he had actually dared to recklessly abuse the little power he was given. If Hiyukai did not deal with this matter perfectly, then his best option to save himself was to pack up and leave Jinhai City. Otherwise, only a tragic end awaited him. Meanwhile, Zero Wing's recruitment location had already become the most eye-catching sight on this street. Before he knew it, Shifeng had recruited many new people for his guild. Some well-known workshops in Jinhai City were even included among them. The members of these workshops were all relatively skilled. However, since they didn't have a top-tier expert leading them, they had a difficult time obtaining good equipment in God's domain. The reason being, a majority of the high-quality equipment could only be obtained from a dungeon, while a minority came from field bosses. However, to a guildless workshop, field bosses were simply an unattainable dream. This situation resulted in the workshops having a hard time making money in God's domain. Hence, many of these workshops wished to join a guild, a powerful guild, in particular. If they had a top-tier expert guiding them, dungeon diving would become a much easier endeavor. Moreover, compared to groping in the dark by themselves, they could improve themselves with much greater efficiency by learning techniques from the said expert. Meanwhile, the Zero Wing Guild was undeniably the best option available in Jinhai City for these guildless workshops. Currently, none of the guilds in Jinhai City had officially become a rated guild. In the past, if Shadow had not spent a humongous sum of money to annex a large number of workshops and recruited some new members with great potential, it would have had no way to quickly become a third-rate guild. In such a situation, Shadow would have also fallen in the competition over White River City, as this was the brutality of God's domain. The 5 demon generals have yet to show up even now. Could they be uninterested in joining Zero Wing? Shifeng had already interviewed several hundreds of people. However, not a single one of the 5 demon generals were actually among those hundreds of people. In the past, the 5 demon generals were the most powerful experts in Shadow. If their growth had not been limited by Shadow, they might have been promoted to a Tier 4 class or above. These 5 people also played an indispensable role in aiding Shadow in obtaining the 10 city-states. One could even say that Shifeng's main goal in attending this fellowship party was to recruit these 5 people. Don't tell me they're afraid of taking the interview? Shifeng felt that there was a very high possibility of such a thing happening. After all, the current 5 demon generals were obscure existences right now, nobodies in God's domain. If they concluded that they would not be accepted into Zero Wing, they would naturally avoid taking the interview altogether, saving themselves the humiliation when they got rejected. Thinking up to this point, Shifeng felt troubled. It was very possible for these 5 people to be inside the fellowship party right now. Yet he had no way of entering the actual event venue. So, how should he go about recruiting those 5? Just as Shifeng was feeling distressed over this matter, Hiyukai came walking over. "Why is it you?" Hiyukai was immediately dumbfounded when he discovered the person he had been sent to invite actually turned out to be Shifeng. In Hiyutsai's opinion, Shifeng was simply an ordinary student. His and Su Wenqing's statuses were worlds apart from each other, and it was impossible for Su Wenqing to actually send a personal invitation to Shifeng. Yet, the impossible had actually happened now. Meanwhile, Shifeng couldn't help but shift his gaze to Hiyukai. Suddenly, he asked with a smile, "President He, what brings you here? Don't tell me you wish to chase me away from this street as well? This is a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Fellow student Shifeng, how could I possibly dare to chase you away? All of this is simply a misunderstanding. Previously, due to an error to the system, your information was not properly registered. However, everything is fine now. Fellow student Shifeng, you can now participate in the fellowship party as well," Hiyukai said with a fawning smile. "President He, I am a very cowardly person. Previously you yourself, President He, had said that, as long as I dare set even a single foot in the hotel, you would immediately chase me out. I truly do not dare provoke a personage such as you. I also feel quite comfortable staying here. If you don't have any other matters, then please return to your event. I am still very busy right now." Shifeng smiled, shifting his attention away from Hiyukai. Hearing Shifeng's words, Hiyutsai's face instantly paled. Even an idiot could make out the meaning behind Shifeng's words. "You chased me away without any hesitation before. Yet now you wish to invite me back? Do you think it's possible that I will agree? Hiyukai really wished to say, "It's possible." Hiyukai was merely a student council president. Now that Su Wenqing had already spoken, if Hiyukai did not deal with this matter properly, his future would be over. Moreover, with Su Wenqing's horrific reach, Hiyukai did not even dare to think about having a future. Noticing Su Wenqing's bodyguard coldly looking at him, Hiyutsai's body shuddered with fear. Immediately, he did something that shocked even Shifeng himself. Hiyukai immediately knelt before Shifeng, hugging Shifeng's thigh as he cried like a little girl, saying, "Fellow student Shifeng." "No! Brother Feng! I was the one in the wrong! I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Taishan too. I am deserving of death. How could I have been so blind to actually listen to the words of that bastard, Ling Failong? Brother Feng, I apologize to you. Please, if it can help cool your temper, please beat me up as much as you wish. As long as Brother Feng is willing to go upstairs with me." Shifeng wasn't the only one shocked by Hiyutsai's actions. Even the bystanders were dumbfounded by this scene. Did he really think he was invincible just because he was shameless? Chapter 254 The Young Will Surpass the Old. Chapter 254 The Young Will Surpass the Old. As expected, it was Ling Failong plotting behind the scenes. In truth, Shifeng did not pay any attention to an insignificant character like Hiyukai. He only wished to find out who was trying to make trouble for him. Since he was able to ascertain that it was indeed Ling Failong playing tricks on him, he no longer had any use for Hiyukai. "All right, save your crocodile tears. I'll go up with you. However, my requirement is for you to clearly repeat the words you just said to Headmaster Su. Otherwise, pray for your own future," Shifeng said calmly as he kicked Hiyukai away. "How could you do this to me?" Instantly, Hiyukai recovered his previous smiling appearance, making it look as if none of the embarrassing scene from before had actually happened. However, there was a hint of hatred hidden beneath his eyes as he looked at Shifeng. Hiyukai had already embarrassed Su Wenqing. If he told Su Wenqing of this matter, then he would be adding Ling Failong to the list of people he had offended. Moreover, Ling Failong was supported by Zhao Jianhua, who was an even more frightening existence. Even if Su Wenqing were to forgive him, Ling Failong and Zhao Jianhua would definitely not let him off. A wolf in front, and a tiger behind, even if he did not lose his life, his future would be ruined. Shifeng was simply too cruel for wanting him to do such a thing. "Why can't I do such a thing? I am only asking you to tell the truth. Now tell me, what is your decision?" Shifeng smiled calmly, completely ignoring the poisonous glare Hiyukai was sending him. What comes around, goes around. After some contemplation, Hiyukai took a few deep breaths before coming to a decision. He then shifted his eyes towards Shifeng, a malicious glint in his eyes as he said, "I can agree to your demands, however, you must allow me to join Zero Wing. It seems that you still aren't clear about your current situation. You wish to discuss conditions with me? Then let me tell you, you only have two options right now. You either speak or don't. In my personal opinion, it's best that you speak the truth. At the very least, you will earn the pardon of Headmaster Su." Shifeng then raised his brows, stating, "My patience is limited. I will give you 3 seconds to consider." "All right. I'll speak." Hiyukai quickly made his choice. Compared to Ling Failong and Zhao Jianhua, he was even more afraid of Su Wenqing. After all, Su Wenqing's influence was simply too extensive. Soon after, Shifeng followed Hiyukai and Su Wenqing's bodyguard into the hotel and took the elevator up to the 36th floor. Shifeng's arrival at the event venue immediately attracted a majority of the participants' attention. Due to Su Wenqing's rage, many of the guests present had already found out about the incident concerning Shifeng. They were very curious to see just what sort of person warranted a personal invitation from Su Wenqing himself. Under the bodyguard's lead, Shifeng and Hiyukai arrived before Su Wenqing. When an ordinary youth in black sportswear appeared before them, everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes. They started attentively evaluating Shifeng, intent on discerning the secrets hidden behind Shifeng's ordinary appearance. To their disappointment, however, be it Shifeng's attire or aura, both were similarly plain and ordinary. Shifeng? Why are you here? Ling Failong couldn't help but grow astonished. Originally, he had intended to use this fellowship party to form a deeper connection with Zhao Jianhua. However, he never imagined that Shifeng could actually make it into the event. The current situation went far beyond his expectations. Everything has an exception to it, isn't that so? Shifeng replied with a smile. Shifeng, it's great that you made it. Originally, I planned to go down and look for you, but it seems that won't be necessary now. Zhao Ruoxi said excitedly when she saw the new arrival was Shifeng. Were it not for Zhao Jianhua holding her back, preventing her from leaving, she would have long since left this boring fellowship party. Sitting beside Zhao Ruoxi, Zhao Jianhua immediately turned grim when he heard Zhao Ruoxi's words. Previously, Zhao Ruoxi had pestered him endlessly for him to let Shifeng come up, angering him greatly. Never would Zhao Jianhua have thought that, not only did this commoner not give up, he had actually entered the event venue now. Didn't I tell the ones below not to let him in? How did he manage to get in? Zhao Jianhua's mind was filled with questions. He failed to realize that Shifeng was none other than the Zero-Wing representative that Su Wenqing had invited. Young man, come over here and take a seat. This old man is called Su Wenqing, the current headmaster of Jinhai University. Su Wenqing slowly stood up and formally introduced himself. Shifeng, a fourth-year student of Jinhai University. Shifeng replied softly. You are a student of our school? Indeed, the young will surpass the old. So young, yet you've already entered the middle management of the Zero-Wing Guild, Su Wenqing said, slightly surprised. He did not believe Shifeng had a very high position in the Zero-Wing Guild. However, normally, only those in middle management, or higher, had the right to recruit members. Shifeng had yet to graduate from university, yet he had already managed to become a middle manager of a mysterious guild. In the eyes of commoners, this could be considered a great achievement. At the very least, Shifeng was much more successful than most of the students present at the fellowship party today. Su Wenqing's amiable bearing and praise towards Shifeng slightly surprised Chen Wu and Zhao Jianhua, who sat close to Su Wenqing. They never thought Su Wenqing would praise a younger generation like so, a plain and ordinary youth like Shifeng, no less. For a second, they even thought that their ears were playing tricks on them. Even when faced with Zhang Luowei, the person with the brightest future in Jinhai University, Su Wenqing had simply said the words, not bad. Although they were shocked by the fact that a person like Shifeng was a middle manager of a guild, an achievement like this did not warrant such praise from Su Wenqing himself. After all, Su Wenqing was a very influential character in Jinhai City. However, Su Wenqing held an optimistic view on Shifeng's future. Shifeng's temperament, which was as calm as the great ocean, especially solidified this opinion of his. This was not something a youth like him should have, or to put it bluntly, it should be impossible for a youth like Shifeng to possess such a temperament. If not for the fact that Su Wenqing had met with countless people, and had seen all sorts of people throughout his life, he too would not have discovered this particular trait of Shifeng's. Being capable of entering the middle management of such a powerful guild clearly showcased Shifeng's ability. Before long, Shifeng would definitely enter the upper management of the guild, hence why Su Wenqing was being so courteous with Shifeng. Headmaster must be joking. Shifeng laughed. After Su Wenqing exchanged a few words with Shifeng, Su Wenqing shifted his gaze once more to He Yukai, who was currently trembling where he stood. Su Wenqing demanded coldly. Speak. What happened? Although Su Wenqing's voice was soft, it was filled with oppressiveness. Frightened, He Yukai no longer dared hide anything from him. Ling Failong was the one that told me to do everything. He said he did not wish to see Shifeng entangled with fellow student Zhao Ruoxi. Hence, under his coercion, I did not register Shifeng for the fellowship party. He Yukai immediately pointed towards Ling Failong, denouncing him. At this moment, he no longer cared about the consequences of his words. Immediately, everyone's attention shifted to Ling Failong. Ling Failong instantly felt a huge pressure bearing down on him. At this moment, Ling Failong felt utterly powerless, his breathing faltering. He was at a complete loss for words right now. Anything he said would easily offend others. He also never imagined that Shifeng would have Zero Wing Guild as his backing. Since you have nothing to say for yourself, then please leave this place. The Jin High Fellowship Party does not welcome you, Su Wenqing said abruptly in a deep tone, the rage contained within his words clear for all to hear. Looking at Ling Feilong's expression, it was obvious what He Yukai had said was the truth. Following which, two robust bodyguards walked towards Ling Feilong, clearly intending to send Ling Feilong on his way. Elder Su, please wait a moment. Zhao Jianhua suddenly spoke up. Meanwhile, standing beside Zhao Jianhua were two of Shadow's major shareholders, Lan Hailong and Zhang Luowei. Chapter 255 There is only one protagonist. Chapter 255 There is only one protagonist. Zhao Jianhua's deep voice suddenly caused the splendorous and lively venue to go silent. Everyone present knew that, once Su Wenqing made a decision, nobody was allowed to interfere with it. However, Zhao Jianhua actually stepped in and tried to interrupt Su Wenqing. Suddenly, the atmosphere within the event hall turned extraordinarily intense, like a minefield where a single misstep could trigger a massive explosion. In reply to Zhao Jianhua's interruption, Su Wenqing did not speak any words. Instead, he merely stretched out his hand, halting the two bodyguards from dragging Ling Feilong away. He then returned his focus to Zhao Jianhua, his eyes carrying a questioning look. He wanted to know just what sort of reason Zhao Jianhua had for going against his decision. Zhao Jianhua was one of the main sponsors for the Jin High Fellowship Party. He was also one of the directors of the Zhao Group, a major corporation in Jin High City. Hence, Su Wenqing could not simply ignore Zhao Jianhua's opinion. Elder Su, I am the one who allowed Ling Feilong to prevent Shifeng from entering this place. Moreover, I feel that I did not make any mistake in this decision. Please don't make things difficult for Feilong. Zhao Jianhua then added with a laugh. As for the reason why I didn't allow Shifeng to enter, it was simply because I did not want him to continue associating with Ruashi. Please understand my decision, Elder Su. Second uncle, I've already said that our relationship isn't what you imagined it to be. Zhao Ruashi argued immediately, her crescent brows slightly wrinkled. Listening to the niece and uncle pair bickering with each other, Su Wenqing, with his many years of experience, instantly figured out the crux of the matter. Suddenly he laughed and said, It is indeed good to be young. Since it is a matter between young people, then I will not intervene. Ling Feilong immediately let out a sigh of relief when he heard Su Wenqing's words. If he were truly chased out of the fellowship party, then his reputation would be in tatters. Fortunately, he had Zhao Jianhua on his side. Ling Feilong gave Shifeng a look that seemed to say, So what if you received praise from Elder Su? Aren't I still completely fine right now? Shifeng merely shrugged at Ling Feilong's provocation, paying him no mind at all. Right now, his sole goal for coming upstairs was to look for the 5 demon generals. Ling Feilong could do whatever he wanted for all Shifeng cared. However, if Ling Feilong dared to actively seek trouble with him again, then he couldn't be blamed for responding in kind. At this moment, the elegant and handsome-looking Lan Hailong sent a glance at Zhang Luowei, who currently stood beside him. Fellow student Shifeng, please wait a moment. Zhang Luowei stepped forward, hurrying to Shifeng as he shouted, I have been looking forward to meeting with Zero Wing for a long time now. I never would have thought I would get the chance to do so at this fellowship party. I hear that Zero Wing has plenty of experts, and each and every one of them has extraordinary skills. Fellow student Shifeng, as a middle manager of Zero Wing, I believe that you must definitely be skilled. Hence, I wish to seek some pointers from you. We can also take it as an entertainment for this fellowship party. I wonder, what is fellow student Shifeng's opinion on this matter? Hearing Zhang Luowei's suggestion, glints flashed through Su Wenqing's, Zhao Jianhua's, Chen Wu's, and everyone else's eyes. They felt that it was a good suggestion. However, they still chose to remain silent as this was a matter for the younger generation. It wouldn't be good for old folks like them to intervene. Among those who showed interest in Zhang Luowei's suggestion, Zhao Jianhua was the most eager for it to take place. Zhao Jianhua knew very well how amazing Zhang Luowei was. After all, even a martial arts master like Qin Wu looked favorably upon Zhang Luowei. Within a few years, Zhang Luowei would definitely become the fighting champion of Jinhai City. Meanwhile, if Shifeng embarrassed himself in front of Ruoshi right now, at the very minimum, he could make Zhao Ruoshi understand how ordinary Shifeng actually was. Once she knew that they were people of two different worlds, she might even decide to give up on her relationship with Shifeng. Is this going to be a martial arts competition? Excellent! To think that I'll get the chance to witness Jinhai University's champion fighter exchanging moves with an expert from Zero Wing. The money I paid to join this fellowship party is totally worth it. Anticipation started filling the eyes of everyone present within the event venue. Ha! Fellow student Shifeng, see how everyone is looking forward to an exchange between you and Luowei. It wouldn't be good to disappoint everyone, right? You can rest assured, though, since this is only an exchange of pointers, we won't go too far in this competition. We are only doing this to liven things up at this party. Lan Hailong chimed in with a laugh. He continued, I am also a board member of Shadow, and in regard to a guild as powerful as Zero Wing, I had always wanted to learn a thing or two from you all. I wish to take a look at the gap between us so that I can turn Shadow into a guild that would not lose out to Zero Wing. I hope fellow student Shifeng will not refuse this competition. The shrewd Lan Hailong was very good with his words. He had made the simple competition between Zhang Luowei and Shifeng sound as if it were a competition between Shadow and Zero Wing. Lan Hailong was clearly intending to use Zero Wing to raise Shadow's status. Originally, the protagonist for the fellowship party should have been Shadow Guild. However, that role had been hijacked by Shifeng midway, and now Zero Wing had become the protagonist of the event. Moreover, Shifeng had also managed to recruit plenty of new members with good potential. Lan Hailong and Zhang Luowei naturally couldn't stomach such a scene occurring right before their eyes. Hence, they thought of using Shifeng as a stepping stone. That way, Shadow's fame at this event would instantly surpass Zero Wing. Moreover, Lan Hailong's plans weren't limited to just this one point. He also intended to publicize Shifeng's loss, allowing everyone, both inside and outside of God's domain, to know that an expert from Zero Wing had lost badly to a player from Shadow. At that time, Shadow's reputation would not lose out to Zero Wing by one little bit. As for Shifeng himself, he would definitely be expelled from Zero Wing after turning the guild into a laughingstock. This could be considered Lan Hailong's revenge on Shifeng for stealing Shadow's limelight at this event. Also, now that the event had become so lively, with so many people cheering and calling out Shifeng's name, Shifeng would not have an easy time declining the competition request. How could you say such a thing? Zhao Ruoshi asked, dissatisfaction in her tone. Shifeng is a gaming expert, not some fighting expert. What point would there be for the two of them to have a match with each other? Immediately, many people among the audience came to a realization. Although Shifeng was amazing inside a game, that did not mean he would be equally amazing at fighting in real life. Even if Zhang Luowei defeated him, that did not prove that Zhang Luowei was strong inside the game. Fellow student Zhao Ruoshi, you must be joking. God's Domain is a virtual reality game, and every aspect of the game is extremely realistic. I believe that anyone who has experienced combat in God's Domain would know this. Although being good at fighting in real life does not necessarily make someone good at the game, the same cannot be said for the opposite. If one is good at the game, then it shows that they are equally skilled at fighting in real life. In fact, I know just how amazing fellow student Shifeng is. After all, he was able to defeat Zhou Yuvu, the student who placed third in Jinhai University's fighting competition. With such strength, it would be a pity for the two of them to not compete against each other. Lan Hailong smiled calmly. Contrary to his words, he had absolute confidence in Zhang Luowei obtaining victory. As for Shifeng, although he was relatively powerful himself, he was definitely not a match for Zhang Luowei. The reason being, Zhang Luowei had already reached the standards of a professional. He was on an entirely different level when compared to Zhou Yuhu. What? That Zhou Yuhu was actually defeated by Shifeng? No wonder he managed to become a middle manager of Zero Wing. As expected, Zero Wing is powerful. Many of those present in the event hall was shocked by this revelation, their anticipation towards the competition between Shifeng and Zhang Luowei growing even more intense. It seems that I really can't underestimate young people. To think that he would choose to keep himself hidden despite possessing such skills. It is truly rare for a youngster like him to have such a humble heart. Su Wenqing commented, his evaluation of Shifeng rising even higher now. With such a temperament, his future achievements would definitely be extraordinary. Chief Zhao, don't you think your requirements are a little too high? You should just let the younger folk handle themselves. It wouldn't be right for us older generations to constantly stick a hand into their matters. It can't be true, right? He managed to defeat Zhou Yuvu with a small body like that? Zhao Jianhua looked at Shifeng suspiciously. He had a good grasp on the standards of the fighting competition held in Jinhai University. It was also the reason why he admired Ling Feilong's achievement of obtaining 9th place in the competition. All right then. Since everyone is looking forward to it so much, how could I bear to refuse? Shifeng laughed. Lan Hailong was still as good with words as he had been in the past. Shifeng had a very clear understanding of Lan Hailong. Lan Hailong was also the cause for his decade of hard work going to waste. Shifeng remembered this point very clearly. Originally, Shifeng had not intended to seek trouble with Lan Hailong in this life. After all, those matters had all occurred in his previous life. Hence, Shifeng decided that, as long as Lan Hailong did not provoke him in this life, he couldn't care less what Lan Hailong did. Yet Lan Hailong just had to come looking for trouble. Since it was so, Shifeng would not remain courteous with Lan Hailong. It was also a good chance for him to rid himself of past grudges. Chapter 256 Demon. Chapter 256 Demon. The brat actually agreed. It seems he still has some courage to him. Zhao Jianhua's opinion of Shifeng changed slightly. Zhang Luowei was reputed to be a genius at fighting, and his mastery of Luohan Quan was very high. Many professional fighters were not even his match. Meanwhile, Shifeng was only a gamer. Although his achievement of defeating Zhou Yuhu was indeed praiseworthy, when compared to Zhang Luowei, they were still on entirely different levels. Standing beside Zhao Jianhua, Zhao Ruoxi grew panicked. Why is this Shifeng acting so foolishly? Zhao Ruoxi was inwardly speechless at Shifeng's decision. Lan Hailong merely flattered him a little, yet he's already acting so cocky. Doesn't he know that Zhang Luowei is a real martial arts expert? Meanwhile, Ling Feilong stood at a distance, sneering at Shifeng. He had personally witnessed Shifeng's fight with Zhou Yuhu, so he knew Shifeng was pretty skilled as well. However, he still had a long way to go before he was Zhang Luowei's match. Moreover, Zhou Yuhu had taken Shifeng lightly the last time, resulting in him being caught off guard and losing to Shifeng in one strike. If Zhou Yuhu had paid more attention to the fight, the final result definitely wouldn't have been so decisive. Currently, Shifeng and Zhang Luowei were no longer fighting as individuals. Instead, they were representing their respective guilds in a competition. As long as Zhang Luowei defeated Shifeng, in addition to Lan Hailong wantonly spreading the news about it, Shifeng would definitely bring great shame to Zero Wing. This was also the part Lan Hailong was brilliant at. Death by overpraising. First, he endlessly praised Shifeng and spoke of how amazing he was in front of everyone else. Then he made Shifeng sound as if he was representing his guild in this competition, turning this normal exchange into a contest between two guilds. Finally, once Zhang Luowei defeated this amazingly powerful Shifeng, Lan Hailong would use this piece of information to showcase just how amazing Shadow was. Even if Shifeng was a middle manager of Zero Wing, he would definitely still receive a heavy punishment. After all, this matter concerned the reputation of the guild. Lan Hailong's means were indeed cruel and decisive. As the audience started cheering and discussing the competition, the staff members of the event went ahead with preparing a fighting ring for the competition. Who do you think will win? Of course it is Zhang Luowei. He is my idol. During the university's fighting competition, he obtained first place with great ease. None of the contestants could take 3 moves from him before being defeated. Although Shifeng is also very strong, he doesn't have much of a presence. I can feel nothing from him at all, as if he doesn't even exist. Zhang Luowei, on the other hand, is like a cruel and ferocious beast. When I stood near him, I could feel a heavy pressure bearing down on me. When his eyes landed on me, I even felt a shiver go down my spine. I agree. Shifeng might be an expert in God's domain, but this is a real-life martial arts competition. It would be good if he could survive 10 moves from Zhang Luowei. If this fight was held in God's domain, however, it would definitely be an interesting duel. While everyone was feeling pessimistic about Shifeng's chances of winning, Zhou Yuhu, who was resting at a corner of the event hall, walked up to Zhang Luowei's side. Brother Zhang, you have to be careful when you are going up against Shifeng. I've fought with him before. Although he doesn't have remarkable strength, and his physique is no good as well, he is very experienced in combat. He has a very good grasp of when to take action, and his fists and feet are extremely nimble. Zhou Yuhu said. Little Hu, you're overthinking things. Even if Shifeng has reached the level of a professional, I can likewise defeat him with ease. Don't worry, I'll return the shame he brought to you. Zhang Luowei laughed as he clapped Zhou Yuhu's shoulders. He was completely unaffected by Zhou Yuhu's words. When one reached his level of skill, one's determination would be as hard as steel. Certainly, Zhang Luowei was not underestimating Shifeng. He had simply reacted this way due to the arrogance of an expert. He would have confidence no matter what kind of enemy he faced. Brother Zhang. Zhou Yuhu knew that his advice had fallen on deaf ears. However, only those who had personally exchanged moves with Shifeng would know how frightening he truly was. If Zhang Luowei was described as a ferocious beast, then Shifeng was like the great ocean. No matter how powerful a person was, they would be helpless in the face of Mother Nature. In truth, Zhou Yuhu had wanted to dissuade Zhang Luowei from having a competition with Shifeng. Only, after taking into consideration Zhang Luowei's prestige, he had instead chosen to warn him to be careful. However, his words had clearly been in vain. The staff members had very quickly enclosed an area for the martial arts competition. Although the fighting ring was somewhat smaller than one in an official setting, there was still a space of 100 square meters available. It was sufficient for 2 people to exchange punches and kicks with each other. Meanwhile, Su Wenqing, Zhao Jianhua, Chen Wu, and several other well-known figures in Jinhai City sat in the section closest to the fighting ring. Everyone else could only stand several meters behind them to observe the fight. In the ring, Shifeng and Zhang Luowei stood 5 meters apart from each other. The former was an ordinary man who had no presence whatsoever, while the latter was like a muscular beast that looked as if he could swallow a man whole. The imposing aura Zhang Luowei emitted could cause others to tremble in fear. A great battle between these 2 men could happen at any moment now. Meanwhile, the audience around the ring started tensing up, their eyes locked on the 2 fighters' every movement. Unlike a fight between ordinary people, which would take a long time to finish, an exchange between experts would end in an instant. Hence, they were deeply afraid of missing out even the slightest detail of the brilliant exchange between the 2. In contrast, Su Wenqing and the other influential characters were currently talking cheerfully with one another. Master Chen Wu, as an ex-professional fighter and a martial arts master, which of the 2 do you think will win in this competition? Su Wenqing asked, a small chuckle escaping his lips as he caressed his beard. I can't say for sure. In a martial arts competition, strength and luck are both equally important. If I were to judge solely based on presence and physique, then Zhang Luowei is clearly a cut above Shifeng. However, I have never personally witnessed how skilled Shifeng is, so I can't make a clear judgment. Chen Wu shook his head, not providing a definite answer. If it was anyone else, even if it was the first time for Chen Wu to meet them, he could still determine the person's strength based on the presence he felt. He would then further evaluate the person's physique and make a rough evaluation. In Shifeng's case, however, Chen Wu could sense nothing from him. Shifeng's presence was so weak that Chen Wu might overlook him. If Shifeng were just an ordinary person who had not defeated a combat expert like Zhou Yuhu, then Chen Wu would definitely conclude Shifeng was a harmless white rabbit, an insignificant existence. Yet, defying all expectations, this little white rabbit had actually defeated a ferocious tiger like Zhou Yuhu. Hence, Chen Wu could not help but reevaluate his opinion of Shifeng. After all, if a little white rabbit could get rid of a ferocious tiger, who would believe that it was still a little white rabbit? Even if Shifeng was a little white rabbit, he was still a rabbit demon that was capable of killing a tiger. If Shifeng had truly cultivated into a demon, then his presence was merely a facade. If one had cultivated into a demon, while the other was still an ordinary animal, the two would be on entirely different levels. However, experts capable of cultivating themselves into a demon were extremely rare existences. The so-called cultivating into a demon did not refer to one becoming a demon physically, but spiritually. It also referred to wisdom. When an expert reached this realm, the martial arts they practiced would no longer be something inanimate. It would start to take on life. However, a youth like Shifeng should not be capable of reaching such a realm yet. Hence, Chen Wu could not determine Shifeng's degree of mastery. Master Chen Wu, how can your keen eyes fail to make a judgment? Both Shifeng and Zhang Luowei are just youngsters. Although both of them can greatly improve in the future, you should have some indication of who will win, right? Zhao Jianhua refused to believe Chen Wu's words. After all, it was clear at first glance who was stronger, and who was weaker. Hence, Zhao Jianhua believed that Chen Wu was simply leaving some face for Shifeng. Unfortunately, Zhao Jianhua did not know that martial arts practitioners were usually forthright in their actions, even more so for a martial arts master like Chen Wu. He was always straightforward with his words, and he would never do something like twist his words around. He would only speak whatever was on his mind. While the few of them were having their cheerful conversations, the referee in the fighting ring sent a glance at both Shifeng and Zhang Luowei, before abruptly swiping his hand down between the two fighters. Immediately he shouted, "Begin!" Chapter 257 Extraordinary. Chapter 257 Extraordinary. The moment the referee gave the signal, Zhang Luowei took action and immediately charged at Shifeng. However, Zhang Luowei did not rush forth like a normal person would, as attacking in a straight line would be too plain and predictable. Instead, he zigzagged as he moved, his footwork constantly changing as he swiftly weaved his way towards Shifeng. If it were any ordinary person faced with Zhang Luowei's footwork, they definitely would not know how to react to it properly. They would be enthralled by Zhang Luowei's erratic footwork and allow him to close in on them. Aside from placing emphasis on footwork, Luohan Quan practitioners also stressed fast, accurate, and fierce punches. If one failed to block a punch from a Luohan Quan practitioner and received a hit to the chest, the battle would end right there and then. Meanwhile, as a person of this modern era, and also as a professional fighter, Zhang Luowei had an arm's strength of over 100 kilograms. Receiving a punch from him would be no different from being smashed in the chest with a hammer. Humans were also not made out of metal. Even if they were, after receiving tens of smashes from a hammer, they would still turn into scrap metal, needless to say what would happen to a body made of flesh. With Zhang Luowei's physique, it would be no surprise if he broke most of Shifeng's ribs with a single punch, sending him flying back 1 to 2 meters away even. However, Shifeng was no ordinary person. Instead of retreating, he chose to advance and face Zhang Luowei head-on. Shifeng utilized the swimming dragon steps as he strode forward, his feet moving as if the ground was completely frictionless. Shifeng immediately slid towards Zhang Luowei, catching the latter off guard. Zhang Luowei never thought Shifeng would actually know such nimble and irregular footwork. Right now, he could not find any way to land a good punch on Shifeng. Shifeng had over a decade of campaigning in God's domain. The combat experience he possessed far exceeded the imagination of an ordinary person. After all, there had been no dearth of martial arts masters and powerful boss monsters to serve as his opponents in the past. On the other hand, Zhang Luowei did not even possess 1,000th of Shifeng's combat experience. Although Shi Feng's current physique was no match for Zhang Luowei's, Shi Feng made up for it by using the agility and fast reaction speed he gained from his years of battle. When fighting bosses in God's domain, even the slightest mistake could cause players to lose their lives. Among the countless boss battles Shi Feng experienced, there was many a time when he had to rely on his body's instinctive reactions instead of his eyes to make decisions. Such instinctive reactions were done under an unconscious state. If one wished to train themselves to this level, they needed to experience plenty of battles, regularly treading the line between life and death. However, one would rarely encounter such conditions for training in real life, even as a professional fighter. After all, when faced with a life-or-death situation in the real world, there was a high chance of losing one's life, and once dead, there was no second chance available. On the other hand, players could experience these life-or-death battles countless times without any risk of actual death. They could simply try again once they died in the game. This was also the reason why many professional fighters were obsessed with God's domain in the past. Only when one was placed in a life-or-death situation would one be able to display one's full potential. As long as they survived the battle, the insight they received from the battle could greatly increase their strength. Why did so many experts in the real world train at precipices? It was to experience the feeling of having their life hanging by a thread. They wanted to use the threat of death to stimulate their innate potential. However, taking such a course was extremely dangerous. Normally, only experts dared to do such a thing. If ordinary people tried it, 10 out of 10, they would lose their lives. Meanwhile, when a player died in battle in God's domain, they could just revive with an intact body. An expert in 100 battles. After experiencing 100 battles, even an ordinary person could become a combat expert. Meanwhile, in regard to the countless battles Shi Feng had experienced in the past, even an idiot could become a demon. Not to mention, Shi Feng had learned plenty of martial arts in the past. He had been a top-tier sword king in the past as well, and he had only been a thread away from being promoted to a Tier 4 Sword Emperor. The reason he could not become a Sword Emperor, however, was not because his techniques had been lacking. After all, Shi Feng's combat techniques had already achieved perfection at that time, and he could easily adopt many techniques to his battles, not limiting himself to just a single style of combat. Although Zhang Luowei's footwork was nimble, Shi Feng was clearly a cut above him. Be it a punch, a chop, or a hammer strike, Zhang Luowei sent fist after fist at Shi Feng. Zhang Luowei's hammer strikes were especially deadly. If a bull received this strike, it would immediately fall to the ground and would not be able to recover within a short period of time. Unfortunately, every strike Zhang Luowei sent at Shi Feng would always rub past the edge of his clothes. Meanwhile, Shi Feng was constantly drifting around Zhang Luowei's side, revolving around him like a true dragon. No matter how Zhang Luowei tried to move, he could not escape from Shi Feng's shadow. After exchanging over a dozen moves, Zhang Luowei's heart grew panicked. Never had he imagined Shi Feng to be a martial arts expert as well. When Shi Feng executed the swimming dragon steps, he was like a true dragon traversing the 9 heavens, advancing and retreating with ease. However, Zhang Luowei also knew that Shi Feng did not dare take him head-on. Yet if Zhang Luowei continued his successive attacks, he would sooner or later exhaust himself completely, and definitely be defeated. Scram! Zhang Luowei decided to use his finishing move, Fierce Tiger, pouncing on its prey, springing at Shi Feng like a hungry tiger. Shi Feng immediately moved his feet, effortlessly dodging Zhang Luowei's attack. Zhang Luowei took this chance to twist his body around, planting one of his feet forward as he swung his fists around, executing twin peaks piercing the clouds at Shi Feng's side. The moment Zhang Luowei's fist struck out, those close to the fighting ring could clearly hear the sound of wind whistling. If Shi Feng was struck by this move, he would be either dead or crippled. Contrary to expectations, Shi Feng reacted calmly and unhurriedly. He simply smiled in reply to Zhang Luowei's vicious attack. Putting strength into his toes, Shi Feng immediately did a flip in midair. He then executed the move Swimming Dragon Stable Strike, using his body's momentum to redirect Zhang Luowei's fists away, letting them strike nothing but air. Immediately afterwards, Shi Feng's fists opened up, and utilizing the centripetal force of his body's rotation, he struck the major artery on Zhang Luowei's neck with his palm. Before Zhang Luowei could properly react, he suddenly felt a chill at his neck, his breathing becoming difficult. Due to his brain receiving a shortage of blood, Zhang Luowei's limbs started to stiffen. However, Zhang Luowei was no ordinary person. He instantly knew he had received an attack from Shifeng, causing the response of his forelimbs to lag. As a last resort, Zhang Luowei rammed his head at Shifeng, who was currently full of openings as he hung in midair. Zhang Luowei was fully intent on ending the battle and mutual destruction. If Shifeng wished to attack him in this situation, Shifeng would have to receive the ramming attack from him. Good! Shifeng first felt surprise, then joy. Contrary to expectations, Shifeng did not choose to retreat and give Zhang Luowei a chance to catch his breath. Instead, Shifeng executed the move Dragon's Palm, taking advantage of the situation to send another palm strike at Zhang Luowei's neck. With this strike, Shifeng immediately redirected Zhang Luowei's all-out charge, completely neutralizing the latter's attack. In addition, Shifeng's attack was further fueled by the force of his body's rotation. As a result, Zhang Luowei's body spun uncontrollably in midair after receiving the strike, just like a rotating arrow that was let loose. Right after that, Shifeng planted his palm on Zhang Luowei's chest and abruptly struck down. Zhang Luowei's body landed heavily, a web of cracks appearing on the marble floor beneath him. At this time, Zhang Luowei fell flat on his back, blood spewing out of his mouth. Shifeng's attack had fractured many of his ribs, and at this moment, he did not possess even the strength to speak. Zhang Luowei's eyes were filled with disbelief as he lost consciousness soon after. Although this series of complex actions sounded slow when described, in reality, everything had happened within an instant. The audience was stunned into silence. Every one of them looked at the fighting ring with dumbfounded expressions. The two in the ring were clearly locked in battle before. Before anyone could react, Zhang Luowei's body was already falling to the floor, his body not even twitching as he landed. He actually defeated Zhang Luowei? My eyes aren't playing tricks on me, right? Zhao Jianhua rubbed his eyes, thinking that he was hallucinating. However, the fact that Zhang Luowei lay on the floor, unmoving, proved that he was not imagining things. A plain and ordinary person that did not possess the presence of an expert had actually defeated a combat genius. Who could believe such a thing? Second uncle, how are Shifeng's skills? Zhao Ruoxi proudly asked Zhao Jianhua, who was sitting beside her, her tone making it sound as if Shifeng's victory was her own victory. Strong, very strong. However, I still feel strange when I look at him. Even though I myself am a martial arts practitioner as well, I couldn't tell what kind of technique he used to defeat Zhang Luowei. Zhao Jianhua said, his heart filled with questions. He then asked, Master Chen Wu, do you know what kind of technique he used? Chapter 258 Increased Backing. Chapter 258 Increased Backing. Zhao Jianhua's expectant gaze made it difficult for Chen Wu to respond. Previously, he did not have a clear grasp on Shifeng's actual strength. He had merely felt that it was possible for Shifeng to have already reached that realm. However, now that he had actually witnessed Shifeng in action, shock was the only word that could describe his current state. Chen Wu had not dared to imagine that a young man in his early 20s could already attain such a high understanding of martial arts. If Shifeng's understanding of martial arts had merely achieved perfection, Chen Wu could still attribute it to him being a genius. Yet, when Shifeng executed his moves, his actions were like nature itself, alive and full of spirit. Such actions were impossible with theoretical understanding alone. One needed to experience extensive combat, and also undergo countless life-or-death experiences in order to attain such a level. Even Chen Wu himself had only recently reached such a level, and he was already 45 years old this year. Ever since he started practicing martial arts at the age of 16, he had participated in hundreds of battles, both large and small. He had even entered actual battlefields before. He could only achieve such a level today after undergoing the baptism of these fields of blood. Chen Wu found it hard to believe that Shifeng would possess so much hands-on experience. Even if he started participating in life-or-death battles in his mother's womb, it was impossible for him to achieve such a degree of perfection in only 20 years or so. As he isn't limiting himself to a single style of combat, I can't make a good judgment. In Jinhai City, however, there probably isn't another youth like him who has cultivated his martial arts to such a level. Chen Wu sighed, a soft chuckle escaping his mouth. It can't be, right? Master Chen Wu, aren't you appraising him too highly? Zhao Jianhua was shocked by Chen Wu's words. No, my evaluation is not high at all. Although Shifeng's physique is on the weak side, in terms of actual combat strength, he would have no problem entering the top 10 of the provincial fighting tournament. Chen Wu shook his head, refuting Zhao Jianhua's words. Chen Wu's words instantly shocked Su Wenqing and Zhao Jianhua. Although the champion fighter of Jinhai City could be considered a top-tier expert, on the provincial level, he would not amount to much. After all, there were tens of cities within a single province. Not to mention the top 10, even entering the top 30 in a provincial fighting tournament would be a difficult challenge. Yet, a martial arts master like Chen Wu was confident that Shifeng could make it to the top 10. The listeners could not help but raise their evaluation of Shifeng. In the past, Chen Wu had personally entered the top 3 in a provincial tournament, so he had a very good grasp on the standards of the fighters at that level. If Chen Wu said so, then Shifeng did indeed possess the strength to enter the top 10 of the province. There were hundreds of millions of people within the province, and the number of fighters participating in the tournament was in the hundreds of thousands. If Shifeng was capable of entering the top 10 out of so many participants, then his value would far exceed even that of the champion fighter of Jinhai City. In regard to a combat genius like Zhang Luowei, Zhao Jianhua and the others only treated him as one of the younger generation. Although they looked favorably on him, it was not to the degree of placing actual importance on him. In Shifeng's case, however, not only was it necessary for them to consider him someone of consequence, they also had to treat him as an equal when dealing with him. It seems that I have misjudged that little brat. He held such strength in his hands, yet he actually chose to keep it hidden. It is no wonder Roshi is placing such importance on him. At this moment, Zhao Jianhua no longer looked at Shifeng with anger and contempt. On the contrary, admiration filled his eyes. He then shifted his gaze towards Ling Failong, who sat beside him, thinking in rage, this brat, on the other hand, actually dared to use me as a hatchet man. It seems he needs to be taught a lesson. Previously, Zhao Jianhua had a favorable opinion of Ling Failong. He was also clear on the fact that Ling Failong was trying to pursue Zhao Ruoshi. However, he did not block Ling Failong's actions, as the boy was indeed excellent. He had the qualifications necessary to pursue his beloved niece, Ruoshi. Now, however, Zhao Jianhua only felt loathing for Ling Failong. At this point, even if Zhao Jianhua was an idiot, he could still tell that Ling Failong had been using him all along. Previously, Ling Failong had many a time commented on Shifeng's shortcomings, his family's poverty, and how Shifeng was constantly stalking Ruoshi. Ling Failong had also mentioned that Shifeng was often bullied by others, that he was a mediocre person, and so on. Now, however, it would seem that the situation was completely different from what Ling Failong had made it out to be. In reality, Ling Failong had no chance of being compared to Shifeng, hence why Ling Failong slandered Shifeng, giving Gao Jianhua a bad impression of Shifeng. Placing 9th in the university? That might be an impressive feat in Jinhai University, but against the backdrop of Jinhai City's fighting tournament, Ling Failong would only amount to the standard of a fresh contestant. Meanwhile, there were hundreds of such new contestants participating in the city's fighting tournament every year. If placed in a provincial tournament, not even a hint of Ling Failong's shadow would be found. As it were, the gap between Ling Failong and Shifeng was like the gap between heaven and earth. It seems that my eyes are really growing bad. Indeed, just like Elder Su had said, young people should be left to deal with their own matters. Zhao Jianhua no longer planned to interfere in the matters between Shifeng and Zhao Ruoshi, intending to let nature take its course. As for what the final result would look like, that would depend on Ruoshi herself. Soon after the martial arts competition ended, Shifeng had undeniably become the main protagonist of the fellowship party this time around. Many students from the university came over to greet Shifeng, hoping to form a connection with him. By contrast, although Zhang Luowei clearly lay unconscious on the floor, not a single person bothered to check up on him, not even his associate Lan Hailong. Although Shifeng had long since known about Lan Hailong's personality, he still couldn't help but sigh when he saw this scene. Such was the fickleness of human nature. However, Shifeng did not sympathize with Zhang Luowei, because Zhang Luowei was also such a person. In the past, Shadow had recruited plenty of new players with good potential. Just when they were about to enter a period of rapid development, a sudden dispute occurred between Zhang Luowei and Lan Hailong. As a result of that dispute, the two had broken off all relations with each other, and Zhang Luowei had chosen to leave Shadow for good. To add insult to injury, Zhang Luowei had also drawn away a significant number of experts from the guild when he left to join World Dominators. Shadow received massive damages due to his actions. If such a split had not occurred in the past, Shadow would not have lagged behind in its development, and remained a third-rate guild. Only after Shifeng had taken over as guild leader did Shadow gradually start to develop into a top-tier second-rate guild. Yet, in this life, things were completely different. Originally, Shifeng had planned to pay a huge price to compete for talent against Shadow. Now, however, it would seem that all his plans were unnecessary. Zhang Luowei had suffered an overwhelming defeat, causing everyone's opinion of Shadow to fall significantly. By contrast, Zero Wing had become the sole target of the audience now, and Lan Hailong could do nothing but gnash his teeth at this development. If Lan Hailong had known from the beginning that Shifeng was so powerful, he definitely would not have agreed to Zhang Luowei having a match with Shifeng. At the very least, he could still have recruited some experts or new players with good potential. Now, however, he had lost all drawing power in this event. He could only choose from the leftovers of Zero Wing. Fellow student Shifeng, do you think I can join Zero Wing? Even an outer member of the guild is fine. Hello, I am Yu Wenyan, the president of Jinhai City's #1 workshop, Green Leaf. I wish to let my entire workshop join Zero Wing. I wonder if Brother Shifeng will be willing to accept us? We don't need many positions, only 10 official member spots, and 50 outer member spots. Just as Shifeng restarted his guild recruitment, the elite students of the university quickly surrounded him. There were also plenty of workshop representatives and professional fighters trying to meet with him. Among all these requests to join his guild, the most shocking one was the request from Green Leaf Workshop. In the past, Green Leaf Workshop had completely ignored Shadow's attempts at recruiting them, and they had instead established their own guild. After doing so, they had managed to obtain the aid and sponsorship of several corporations, becoming a third-rate guild in God's domain. At that time, however, the number of guilds being established in Jinhai City was growing by the day, which resulted in the dilution of available funding. If the Green Leaf Guild had not been lacking in funds at that time, without a doubt, they would have been a powerful rival for Shadow. Besides that, Shifeng had finally managed to locate the 5 demon generals of Shadow. By the time the fellowship party ended, the number of people he managed to recruit had exceeded the quota he previously set by more than 100. Just the number of potential experts he recruited had already exceeded 50 people, as well as 9 future top-tier experts. Among those 9 were the 5 demon generals, while the remaining 4 were core members of Green Leaf Workshop. After recruiting all these people, Zero Wing Workshop instantly became a huge existence in Jinhai City's virtual gaming world. Compared to other third-rate guilds, Zero Wing had a much more powerful backing now. As long as Shifeng could turn these players into the backbone of Zero Wing, he would not falter even if he had to start a war with a second-rate guild. Following which, Shifeng spent the remainder of his days signing contracts with these newly recruited members. As for the management of Zero Wing Workshop, Blackie had long since dealt with it. Moreover, most of the people Shifeng recruited were originally members of other workshops, so they took no time at all to adjust themselves to a new environment. In addition, these people could also contribute significantly on the management side of things. However, Blackie was truly shocked when he found out about the amount of people Shifeng managed to recruit. The influx of over 400 people had instantly filled up Zero Wing's workplace. Suddenly, the entire workshop was much livelier, no longer as empty and quiet as before. It was a fitting atmosphere for such a large workshop. Only when night arrived did Shifeng finally arrive back home. He then cooked a casual meal for himself and downed a bottle of nutrient fluids, before starting a new day in God's domain. Also, this new day was fated to be extraordinary. Chapter 259 Surging Situation. Chapter 259 Surging Situation. The first thing Shifeng did after entering God's domain was to contact Gentle Snow and conduct the transaction for the Arclight shields. Currently, he had exhausted most of his supply of magic crystals to forge the Arclight shields. Moreover, during this period of time, the various large guilds had already started raiding the 3 level 10 large-scale team dungeons. Although the elite members of these guilds had already reached level 13 or level 14, it was still impossible for them to raid even the normal mode of the 3 large-scale team dungeons. Even though these were only level 10 dungeons, in reality, the bosses inside were not limited to just level 10. The highest level boss inside the normal mode dungeon reached level 13. There was nothing special about the loot of the normal mode dungeon. The best items players could get were a bunch of level 10 secret silver weapons and equipment, and also some number of materials needed by lifestyle players. However, the hard mode of the large-scale team dungeon was markedly different. The main reason why they were titled the 3 Great Dungeons was because of the fact that, along with the increase in difficulty, the levels of the monsters inside the dungeon would also increase. For the hard mode of the 3 Great Dungeons, the bosses inside were all level 15. Hence, it would not be an easy endeavor for players at this stage of the game to obtain the first clear of the 3 Great Dungeons. In addition, the loot obtainable from the hard mode of these dungeons was significantly different, as a majority of the weapons and equipment dropped were of fine gold rank. Moreover, they were growth-type weapons and equipment. They were capable of growing from level 10 to level 15. However, they were bound to players upon equipping. As for Hell mode, the bosses inside were all level 18, and the weapons and equipment they dropped were mostly dark gold rank. These items were also capable of growing from level 10 to level 18, and similarly were bound to players upon equipping. The Hell mode of the 3 Great Dungeons was also the most difficult among dungeons below level 20. After level 20, there would be new large-scale dungeons available to players within the White River City region. There were a total of 4 such dungeons, and among them, 3 were 50-man dungeons, while the remaining one was a 100-man dungeon. The difficulty of a 100-man dungeon was on an entirely different level when compared to a 50-man dungeon. The main reason being, as long as someone managed to obtain the first clear of a 100-man dungeon, the achievement would be announced to the entire God's domain. The announcement wasn't just limited to a single country. In other words, this achievement would be seen by the 2 billion players that were playing God's domain. In addition, the achievement would be recorded in the epic list of God's domain, allowing everyone in God's domain look at it. However, it was extremely difficult for players to obtain the first clear of a 100-man dungeon. Even Shifeng himself did not have a strategy to raid it. Gentle Snow pushed open the doors of one of the parlors of the Starstreak trading firm and entered the room. Gentle Snow's equipment now was quite different from the last time Shifeng had met with her. Most of the equipment she had on were of secret silver rank. Among them, the silvery white greatsword that she carried on her back was even of fine gold rank. Currently, Gentle Snow had already reached level 16. It was obvious that she had been grinding nonstop, night and day, to reach such a level. "Let's hurry up and make the trade," Gentle Snow said impatiently, not bothering to even take a seat. "It seems that you are in quite a hurry, Miss Snow. Did something happen?" Shifeng asked curiously. This was a transaction involving fine gold ranked shields. It was definitely a matter of utmost importance. However, it seemed that Gentle Snow had an even more important matter to attend to. "It's nothing much. I just heard that Dark Star has already reached the second to last boss of the Land of Death, so I wish to be done with this trade quickly." In a moment I'll need to head to the land of death as well. Gentle Snow did not try to hide the reason for her distress. The number 1 guild in White River City was actually a step behind Dark Star, a third-rate guild, in terms of raiding one of the 3 great dungeons. How could she not feel anxious? They sure are fast. Since when did Dark Star possess such powerful experts? Sherfone felt something fishy about Dark Star. First, it had annexed over 10 unrated guilds. Now, a group of experts had appeared in its ranks. Its raiding progress of the 3 great dungeons was even faster than Ouroboros's. It should be known that Ouroboros was the current number 1 guild in White River City. Moreover, in order to better develop the guild in White River City, Gentle Snow had transferred over many experts stationed at Starmoon City. She had even requested for a party from the God-slaying army to be sent to White River City, and each and every member of the God-slaying army was a top-tier expert. Yet, even when these top-tier experts were led by great experts such as Gentle Snow and Zhao Yueru, they still were not a match for Dark Star. Each of the 3 great dungeons had 5 bosses. Meanwhile, Dark Star had already cleared up to the 4th boss, while a powerful team like Ouroboros was only at the 2nd boss. No matter how Sherfone thought about it, Dark Star's progression was simply unbelievable. The difference between second-rate guilds and first-rate guilds lay in the quality of their experts. In order to nurture these experts, first-rate guilds had spent over a decade researching and gaining experience. Meanwhile, for a guild like the Assassin's Alliance, although it was a second-rate guild, in terms of nurturing experts, it was still at the stage of accumulating experience. Compared to a first-rate guild, they were on entirely different levels. However, what did Dark Star amount to? Moreover, Sherfone had made Dark Star an enemy of the first-rate guild Twilight Echo. Yet, nothing had actually happened to Dark Star. Sherfone had received no news of anything happening to it. On the other hand, Twilight Echo had done something so unbelievable that even Sherfone himself was shocked. The guild had actually paid the 50 million credits willingly to Sherfone. Thinking up to this point, Sherfone felt that the power supporting Dark Star from behind was far stronger than he had imagined. Twilight Echo must have discovered something about Dark Star for it to willingly pay up the 50 million credits. Here are 200 magic crystals. Here are the 4 arclight shields, please verify them. Gentle Snow was no longer in the mood to discuss Dark Star. She immediately called out her trade window. Sherfone, likewise, tactfully stopped speaking of this topic. Seeing Gentle Snow in such a hurry, it seemed that Dark Star was putting quite a pressure on her. It was possible that Gentle Snow's worries were not just limited to the dungeon. There should be some other matters troubling her. In any case, this had nothing to do with Sherfone. Of course, if Gentle Snow was willing to reveal her troubles to him, Sherfone would naturally offer a helping hand, as a friend. However, Gentle Snow chose to keep quiet about them, so Sherfone could only remain silent as well. Moreover, these 4 arclight shields should provide quite an upgrade to the MTs of Gentle Snow's team. They should have no problem surpassing Dark Star if they had these shields. The moment Gentle Snow inspected the attributes of the arclight shields, her eyes immediately glowed, a hint of joy surfacing on her face. Excellent! The attributes on these arclight shields are simply too good. I will need 2 more of these items. I wonder when you will be able to finish them for me? At this time, excitement was evident on Gentle Snow's face. With these 4 shields, they would definitely have no problem clearing the 2nd boss. The success rate for producing these shields is simply too low. I will need around half a day's time to complete 2 of them, Sherfone replied after giving it some thought. Then, I'll visit again in half a day's time. You better not sell them to anyone else. Gentle Snow nodded her head. She then left the parlor hastily. Shortly after Gentle Snow departed, Fire Dance arrived at the Star Street trading firm. Guild leader, we've already finished our dungeon raiding preparations. We can head to the demon's castle at any time. Fire Dance looked at Sherfone with passionate eyes. She couldn't help but wish she could immediately show Sherfone how amazing the team she managed was. It's a little too early for that right now. The Demon's Castle is a 20-man team dungeon. You should also know that Zero Wing Workshop has recently recruited a new batch of members. On average, the level of these players are quite low. There are even some who have just made their accounts and entered the game. I want you guys to power level some of them, bring them up to level 15 quickly, and form a main team to raid the demon's castle, Shifeng said with a smile, passing Fire Dance a name list. Originally, Shifeng had intended to have Aqua Rose send some of her subordinates over to aid them. However, most of her subordinates were currently managing the new recruits of the guild. In addition, Aqua Rose's group was also in the midst of raiding 10-man and 20-man dungeons to upgrade their equipment, preparing themselves to raid the 3 great dungeons. They had neither the time nor energy to help him raid the demon's castle. Hence, Shifeng planned to form a main force for the guild. He could not let the 9 top-tier experts he just recently recruited go to waste, so he decided to let Fire Dance and the others carry them. I understand, Fire Dance answered with disappointment. However, when she thought about how Shifeng was willing to let her lead even more players and, in addition, become the leader of the guild's main team, she couldn't help but grow joyous. After all, this showed that Shifeng acknowledged her abilities. Oh, right. I nearly forgot to give these things to you. Just as Fire Dance was about to turn around and leave, Shifeng tapped his head and suddenly called out to her. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.